What do you get when you cross a know-it-all newspaper columnist with an awkward, unsophisticated everyman?
Yeah. Well, I'm just not sure about that right now.
Welcome to Couch in the Rube.
Welcome to Couch in the Rube, our Thursday night show presented by our friends at Firekeepers Casino and the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. Download the app, bet the games we're betting, or just bet your own games and actually win money. But you can bet our games, commiserate with us. They have great promo options when you sign up. Easy to use app. All the lines that we're using on the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. Also, our Thursday night show presented by our friends at Cask & Company Kitchen and Bar in Front 43 Neighborhood Pub. No better place to watch the games. If you're looking for a place to settle in Saturday for college football, to settle in Sunday for the NFL, for a date night where you can pretend to pay attention to your significant other, but really watch the game over their shoulder, Front 43 and Cask & Company on East Saginaw and Lansing near the Lansing-East Lansing border. Also a great pregame spot before Michigan State football. Jason, how you doing, brother?
Peacock.
What's up, buddy? Are you excited to tell people how to download Peacock?
The older generation, I'm a little concerned about. Yeah, it's actually a decent app. It's not awful. People seem very angry about this, and I do think it sucks in the sense that fewer people will see the game. Like people,
it's just annoying. It's not really like a hard thing to do. I know for some it is, but like, yeah, it's annoying. But that's what we have to do now, I guess. You just have to remember to cancel the Peacock thing, or can you get a trial or something,
or keep it? You know, like.
That's what? If you don't use it,
you can watch all the episodes of New Girl or The Office or Chicago PD or all the Premier League soccer you would like. It's absolutely
Where
fantastic.
do you fit in all that time to watch shit TV though?
Oh,
you're a pretty busy guy. Like
I find a way.
Man,
that's my thing.
All right.
If anybody can find a way to watch shitty TV, it's me.
It's my thing. Yeah. That's true.
All right, we got what I think is going to be a fun show. It's going to be a big show. It's going to be a long show. We are going to have Matt Charboneau on in a few minutes, the luckiest man in the world who exited stage left from the MSU beat just as everything was breaking.
Did Charboneau know?
No.
I mean, come on.
No.
What are the odds?
It seems like he should have. Right, yeah. It seems like he should have known something, given how well he did this. And then we're going to have Harry on. We're going to pick the games for this week, including Michigan State, Washington, followed by your Twitter questions. Should be a fun show. Okay, so here's something interesting that's sort of developing in my head, Jason.
Oh.
I think people are more excited about the MSU football season today and the future than they were last week. I might be reading this wrong. And I don't know if they're sure about it, but I think they're okay with it. They're happy to have Mark D'Antonio back in the short term. They're okay with Harlan Barnett leading this squad. They're okay with a coaching search and trying this again. And I think that says something about how people actually felt about Mel Tucker, even people who supported him and were high on him and all that good stuff. Do you agree?
I agree, because I just think that a lot of people felt that when Tucker was going to get fired, like, okay, we get to start over. A lot of fans were not excited about where Tucker was really taking this program. Other than the 11-win season, really has Tucker been that great of a head coach? So if you can get that $70 million, I mean, they're going to fight to the death for that. But if that gets figured out, you get a new head coach in here, I think people, is it Harlan Barnett? Maybe. But I think people, like you said, I think people want to see this Washington game and see how this team prepares. If they're ready to go, they want to play, they want to fight for Harlan Barnett, or if they get beat 52-0, then what, right? So, but I do agree with you.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting vibe. Like, what's interesting is this was always going to be a huge week for Michigan State football before this all happened, the Mel Tucker saga, before his suspension, before he was removed, and he's permanently removed at this point. Because you had a bunch of things happening. One, it's the first week of alcohol sales. People are going to be drinking at Spartan Stadium. Two, you had the game on Peacock, and Lord knows enough people were upset about that, right?
Peacock?
Yeah.
And also, you go to what was the other thing I was thinking? There's one more element of this. Oh, the Rose Bowl team coming back, 2013 team. All these great vibes, and then you have this game that is a measuring stick, a telling game, a game where I think this team looked to avenge what happened last year. The beginning of really questioning the direction of the program happened a year ago in Seattle, and this was a chance to redirect that and a chance to show what some of the things you'd seen in the first 2 weeks were real. I think the players really dialed in. It was an important, interesting week, a quasi-night game, fun atmosphere on campus. And then you throw in this, and I still think all those things exist in a lot of ways. Like, it's still going to be interesting to see the Rose Bowl team, whatever. That's a lot less the story. Although D'Antonio is back coaching, D'Antonio and Barnett on the sidelines, it's sort of like a throwback game in that sense. You just hope, for Michigan State's sake, it's not like a throwback to 2018, more of a throwback to.
So D'Antonio's going to be on the sideline then?
Well, I don't know where he's going to be. I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't jump to conclusions. Yeah, I have no actual idea where he'll be. The drinking, though, it might come in handy if things go bad. But I do think the atmosphere will be one that is people will wrap their arms around this team. I do think that. And I don't think you'll hear any boos. I think there's a sense of shared trauma.
But for how long, though?
Well,
if it gets down to 21-0,
I don't think
Michigan State's down.
I don't think you hear a single boo this particular week. You may see people disappointed. It may be quiet, drinking quietly. The lines may get really long at the beer concessions and then also the troughs because of that. But God bless the troughs. They're going to have a rough week.
God. What a weirdo.
Sorry.
These troughs.
Yeah, these troughs. But I do think if anything goes well, I think coming out of the tunnel, I think there will be a reception that is noted and different than some weeks. I think if things start to go well, if they can hang in there for a long while, and I think people sort of assume the likeliest thing is that they're going to have to hire a new coach, or this team's only going to do so much, and this is just a period of time. This is not like the difference between Mel Tucker and Harlan Barnett is that Mel Tucker, the hope was that he was still the guy, that momentum was driving forward. And while there's still that hope with Harlan Barnett, that's not the expectation. And so it would be a pleasant surprise, although if you want a brand new coach, that's not the surprise you may want. But if the momentum continued to the point that was a serious conversation, if it looked like this staff really had it together, if Barnett turns out to be a really good head coach. And I know there are a lot of questions about him because, he didn't have great success at Florida State as a coordinator. He's a really good position coach for a long time under D'Antonio. It hadn't shown up as much this time. But some people are great head coaches who aren't necessarily great coordinators, and vice versa. P.J. Fleck couldn't fix a defense or offense to save his ass, but he understands that, and he has good guys who can do it, and he can build a program. There are a number of those guys, and I'm not saying that's who Harlan Barnett is. I'm just saying we don't know who he is as a head coach yet. He may be really good at this, and we just don't know.
But can he recruit?
That's
question. The big question. I don't think the concerns are, can he coach? We know he can probably coach. That thing in Florida State was a lot of Taggart's fault, but can he recruit? And that's what the question is right now. And by the way, what's the sense from the players? Have you talked to any of them? I mean,
we haven't.
Are they on board with it? Okay.
I have not yet. No. I'll say this for Barnett and the recruiting. Like, he was a big part of some of D'Antonio's best classes. So it's not like he is not recruited before. It's not like he's not recruited well in his life. It's not like he doesn't understand the process. He was a huge part of some of the top Ohio kids.
But it's a different animal than when he was doing it back then.
It is different.
Yeah.
Although he's been a part of this too with Mel Tucker.
Sure.
So again, we'll have to see. Michigan State is going to have to make the right decision for 3 years from now, and that's what I wrote in a column earlier this week. Because as much as you may like Harlan Barnett, and it may be a fun story this season if things go well, you have to really analyze it and make tough decisions. And if you think it might be, if there's some momentum, if this staff looks like they've really got something going here, recruits are hanging in there, the team's playing for this guy, he seems to be well organized, and this works. Why would you disrupt that if you think you might have a chance? Why, when everything is always a crapshoot when you hire a new coach for the most part, why would you disrupt something you thought was working? There's a lot of things in the way between here and there because, as we've talked about, I don't know if we've talked about it. I've done like 65 shows since our last show here, so I don't know what I've actually talked about. And a couple of them I got off there and go, I don't know what the fuck I just said. But there are going to be things like the transfer portal opening up when Mel Tucker's officially fired for 30 days. After 4 games, if players want to retain their eligibility, they can shut it down. There are going to be all sorts of challenges. I don't think this week will be one of those challenges because it's a game that I think they've been dialed in on and looking forward to for a year. I think all the players don't want this to define their season. I think this week losing Mel Tucker won't matter. If anything, I think the energy in the stadium may be more supportive and helpful. I think a couple weeks from now, however, is when it gets tougher. The interesting thing is the schedule, though. So they have this game at home, then Maryland at home. So you get a couple weeks where even if things aren't going great, people understand this situation is shit. They don't want to boo these kids. They don't want to get on the staff. Then they go to Iowa and Rutgers. And when they come back, it's Michigan. And so that's when it starts to get interesting. Things go wrong against Michigan and you don't look competent on the field, people will start to say, okay, that's just not it. This isn't happening. I mean, they're going to have to look competent in those games as well. But for a couple weeks at home here, I think they will have full support. They'll have people hoping they do this well and hoping this is – I think people like Harlan Barnett. I mean, I like Harlan Barnett personally a lot. I have no idea what it'll be as a head coach, right, but I would bet a lot on him as a man, and I just think I've talked to him a lot over the last 10 years. I think he's a really good dude. It's
just so interesting to see on Twitter some of the recruits, and they're like, oh, yeah, the Washington game, they're going to be in attendance when Mel Tucker's been wiped out of Spartan Stadium, right? Or they changed some of the graphics in there. It's just a weird time. And for a recruit, what are they thinking?
Yeah.
That's the big question. And how long is this going to drag on with Tucker? Because it doesn't seem like after he made his announcement or his rebuttal or whatever it was, that he's not going away.
No, it's going to be a battle. And there was another story that came out tonight about the Kenny Jacoby at USA Today had another story out today just about more of the timeline and how the hearing got pushed back from August to when it is now in October, the Title IX hearing based on Tucker and his lawyer's request. There's some other things answered in that as well. We have it at the Lansing State Journal, and I tweeted that out earlier tonight. Or I guess whenever you're listening, earlier on, the hell night is it? Thursday night.
It is Thursday.
It is Thursday
How
night.
many podcasts did you do? Like
15,
20?
I definitely a record. I don't know it was that much. I just don't like to say no to people because at some point I'll be laid off, unemployed, and I'll need people. And
so it's about yourself at the end, yeah.
Well, and that I like a lot of people. And early on, you're like, all right, yeah. By the end of the week, you're like, oh, okay, it's
say the same thing.
And and you just hope you don't make an ass of yourself. Only once did I have to. It was something that was being recorded.
Can you edit that in post?
I said, I like donuts. I didn't really want that in there.
You've had too many donuts, mate.
All right, we've got a lot of. We're going to get into this a lot through your Groovy Donut Twitter questions in a little bit. We're going to take a really quick break. When we come back, Matt Charboneau, formerly of the Detroit News, on life on the beat, why he left, what he's doing now, and why life is just so much better. Couch in the Rube, presented by our friends at Firekeepers, iCasino and Sportsbook app, and Front 43 and Cask & Company.
Where else can you cheer on your team? Enjoy a mouth-watering burger or savory sushi. Sip on handcrafted cocktails or one of 46 beers on tap. Take your game day or date night to Cask & Company Kitchen Bar or Front 43 Neighborhood Pub near Frandor. 2 amazing places with 1 awesome blended modern American Asian menu. Catch the game on one of 30 60-inch TVs or stop in for the all-you-can-eat lunch buffet. Enjoy happy hour or elevate your night out at Cask & Company or Front 43 on East Saginaw in Lansing. Ever wonder how comfortable you can be and how good you can look? Put on a Muskox flannel and find out. Muskox has new arrivals for this fall, including the Caper Green Grand Flannel, which even makes couch look good. Muskox is a Detroit-based flannel company that creates soft and durable flannels made to last a lifetime. They become a great partner with Couch in the Rube, not just because they make us look good and feel good, but because they're good people too, and a socially conscious company. For every $100 purchase, $10 is donated to the Alaska Wildlife Conservation. Muskox flannels are designed with 100% cotton that is ethically sourced and double brushed for softness. Feel the quality and comfort of a Muskox flannel by ordering at gomuskox.com, where Couch in the Rube listeners can enjoy $15 off their flannel purchase with the promo code HOFF.
Find Couch in the Rube podcasts on Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Google Podcasts, CastBox, and the Rube's favorite, Podcast Addict.
Couch in the Rube, presented by Firekeepers and the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. Download the app today. Bet the NFL, bet college football, bet the games we're betting. Lose along with us. And also our Thursday night show presented by our friends at Cask & Company Kitchen and Bar in Front 43 neighborhood pub just north of Frandor on East Saginaw in Lansing. Glad to be joined by an old friend who I won't get to see much again. I'm really sad about that. The great Matt Charboneau, formerly of the Detroit News. Matt, thanks for taking a minute out of what I imagine is a horrendously busy schedule these days.
Well, Graham, anytime for you, buddy. But, yeah, I mean, it's pretty intense right now. I mean, reading what you guys are doing about a big news story, it's taking a lot out of me.
You have
I'll manage.
You have the best timing in the world, by the way, my man. That was just a great time.
The best timing would have been if my last actual day was Saturday. But Sunday technically was my last day. So, there was a little bit of, how should I say, inconvenient work on Sunday. But
when you were asking for like a Zoom link from Angola, Indiana, or someplace at your daughter's softball tournament for the press conference on Sunday, I was like, oh yeah, Matt's getting disturbed here. This is great. This is one last inconvenience.
Yeah, if I ever needed any confirmation that I was making the right choice, the final day was that. Many days I was at a softball field with my laptop out, and I guess it was a fitting way to go out, to be honest. But I can't say I'm not going to be a little relieved that I'm not chasing down whatever comes next in the latest saga. So, but I'll be following you guys closely.
How much have you paid attention to it this week?
A pretty decent amount. I don't know if I'm proud to say I listened to Harlan Barnett's press. I mean, obviously Sunday I listened to Alan Haller and the interim president, and then I listened to Harlan on Tuesday. Part of that was just to see we all know Harlan Barnett pretty well. He's a good guy. So I think there's part of us personally that are all kind of pulling for him and understand the difficult, I guess, task he has ahead of him. So I think we're all kind of hoping he makes it all work because he's just a good dude that we've all known a long time. But I've followed fairly closely, not as closely obviously if I would if I was working this story, but just keeping tabs on what's happening. I mean, it's hard when it's something you've done for this long, and I think it was the very first. I think Monday morning, Solari tweeted something, and I still have my alerts on, and my first reaction was hurry up and go. I think it was Mel's statement, hurry up and go get it, and so I can post it and get my story and retweet it. And 10 seconds later, I'm like, what am I doing? I don't have to worry about this. So that was a little bit of a relief. So in that sense, though, I am still following what's going on so far. One of the first things you have to do is block Solari's alerts and tweets and probably his number once you get out of the business. Well, as you know, the text threads between us and Wenzel and Kyle Austin and all that is someday I wish people could pay like a subscription fee to get some of that nonsense. It's entertaining most of the time, tiring at other times, but I have not blocked his phone number yet, so I'm still getting plenty of those. There's nothing better than a Solari rant off the cuff. It is. It is. There's usually a big conspiracy theory behind it, and until you ask him who's benefiting from this theory, and he doesn't have an answer. So, Before we go further, let people know what you're doing. Why you've left the Detroit News. Oh gosh. Well, what I'm doing is I'm going to communications job, corporate communications for a company called the ZF Group, auto supplier, essentially one of the bigger ones in the world. But it's a new challenge, something different. It brings a little more. Peace and quiet to life, a more regular schedule, which I think most people understand. Our schedules are never normal, and in my whole professional life, I haven't had that. So the idea to have nights, weekends, be able to see my daughter finish up her, high school softball and travel softball as she goes into college was a big deal for me. As you know, I spent a lot of times in a press box at some football stadium somewhere, focused more on my phone and the streaming of a softball game on that little screen than almost as much as what's happening in front of me. So a lot of those things factored in. So it's just kind of a more normal, slower paced life. I mean, there's a lot of stuff I'm going to miss about the journalism world, and hanging out with you yo-yos would be at the top of the list. But I think a more stable life, and something I've been thinking about for a while, and this came up, and it was a good opportunity. So the timing could have been a little better for the Detroit News. Happened maybe a month earlier would have been nice, but you got to take it when you get it. So that's what I did.
Well, I just got a text from Chris, who's apparently listening. It says, "Hey, fuckos," to you and I. So that's
that's pretty standard. If anyone's wondering, that's pretty much how it goes.
All right. So, thing you will miss most, like, do you have a? I mean, you've been on the beat since 2010-11, if I'm correct on that, right? So you started at the awful basketball season where they nearly missed the tournament, where everything fell apart. The year after the last Final Four run with Kalen Lucas and those guys, you were there for the whole rise and sort of decline of MSU football, and you worked with a lot of Nimrods, Joe Rexrode for a while, myself, just a number of a number of tools and dipshits along the way. What did you enjoy most? What are there any stories that really stand out, or sort of you can explain what life was like for 13 years?
Oh man, the thing is, I'm not sure what stories we want out there, Graham.
That's a good point.
I mean, just in the last year, one of our funnier ones with me and you was you getting your rental car towed in College Park, Maryland, and it's funny because we were parked in a spot we've parked in a million times and never paid attention to the fact that it was a towaway zone.
Never.
And we end up at a poorly lit chain link fence, I guess, impound lot at like 12:30 a.m. and somewhere near College Park with just a guy in a car. Like, pay this guy money and you'll get your car back. It was really kind of shady.
It was very suspect.
Yeah, I think you expensed it to the LSJ, which any self-serving reporter would do.
By the way, that was a policy change came about after that for all of Gannett. So I expensed that tow truck charge to the LSJ, and then like 3 months later, that sort of thing was no longer allowed. If you get your car towed, it's on you. Yeah. What
a surprise! I mean, it was our own fault. Like I said, we'd been to that lot many times over the years. I guess we should have known better. But honest to God, and I think people who work with decent people that they consider friends would agree that that's the stuff you miss the most. I feel like it's like athletes when they get done with their career. They don't talk about the wins and losses. They talk about the camaraderie and hanging out with the guys. And I think we were lucky enough over the years that we had those kind of guys on our beat that we developed that with from, I mean, early, but you mentioned working with Joe. I mean, my early years, it was me and Joe and Dave Mayo and Greg Johnson. I mean, guys like that have stories all day long. And then some clown from Kalamazoo comes rolling in named Graham Couch. I'm like, who's this guy? I think it was Wisconsin basketball in January. The first time you're on the beat is the first time
I remember that.
Yeah, and good times. Diamond was in there in the M Live group. Just the guys along the way. And when Joe left was a big deal. I mean, Joe was kind of that guy that connected everybody on the beat. And Solari coming in was our own special little. He's like our human Eeyore. He's our lovable little grumpy guy. And you get Wenzel and Kyle Austin on M Live. It's just we've always had great guys and great people to hang out with. And I know that other beats aren't always like that, especially some of the pro beats in Detroit aren't like that at all. And we were pretty fortunate in that. So that is the stuff I'm going to miss the most. I mean, there's always good stories of, being in Izzo's office for 3 hours and some of the stuff you guys you talk about with him there. There's a great games. I mean, my third game I ever covered was Little Giants. I mean, and everything that followed with that, with D'Antonio and his heart attack, and that was like a month into the beat, so that was pretty wild. But yeah, it's hanging out with all you guys and having fun and traveling and going all over the country. That's the stuff I'm going to miss the most.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think sometimes it's easy to forget how fortunate we are, and we are competitors. You know, we're not. You know, we're out to do our best work for our own organizations. But to have that camaraderie, and I think you're right. Joe set the tone, and he was there long enough that it just carried over. And I think you were a huge part of that. Like I don't think me and Chris and Kyle and Matt can. We'll just splinter and fall apart immediately in the coming weeks without you. So we'll see how that goes. One of my favorite things about Matt Charboneau, by the way, is his gait. And
here we go.
So like I can tell like from a mile away where Matt is if I'm walking behind him because of the way he strolls along and just this very distinct gait, and it's the Matt Charboneau gate, and I don't know how I'll survive without being able to know where you are for the next however long more I'm doing this. So
well, and that gate often got us lost in stadiums or arenas that had long since locked the door because some people like Graham Couch take an exorbitant amount of time to finish their really thoughtful, insightful, thought-provoking columns. So then we're in the stadium arena well after they want to close and they want to throw us out. So we have to find our way out of places. I'm pretty sure you broke a lock at, I want to say, Maryland football. Either you or Joe broke a lock to get out of there. We've used our phones as flashlights to get out of Wisconsin. When we were leaving Levi Stadium for that, what was it, the Red Box Bowl, I wasn't sure we were ever going to get out of that place. We managed to get out, so yeah.
I have a distinct memory in Nebraska, too, of I think it was the SID, Seamus, who'd called ahead for a bar before last call, and there were 4 sports writers racing down the street of Lincoln, Nebraska to catch last call. And, those sort of moments are, it's incredible. And I appreciate you always sticking up for me when I was the last guy writing and telling the door attendant or whatever, 5 more minutes. All he needs is 5 more minutes. He'll be done.
And if people understand, whenever Graham says 5 minutes, that means a minimum 20 to 25 minutes.
Oh, they understand on the show. I don't know if we've ever started on time here. It's
we call it Graham o'clock.
Nice. Well, the people should know. One time, Graham and I drove to a game together. Was at Rutgers, and you don't really stay in Piscataway. I think it was a night game, and I had to wait to drive back to you with you to our hotel, and I had all my post-game stuff done and almost everything for Sunday for Monday's paper done by the time you were finally done with your column or whatever, and we got the hell out of there. But I think after that point, I either drove myself or went with Kyle or something. No longer with Graham at that point.
Yeah, well, these columns don't write themselves. You know, you have to stare over them and make them.
I've read a few. You wonder
and make them work. No, it's been fun, man. I mean, I think of, we were in Germany together, going way back. A trip where you got that was back when you didn't really have a cell phone overseas. So when you got disconnected from each other, or you could, that was it. You may not see the other person for hours at a time.
Yep, that happened.
Yeah, just some great trips and incredible memories, and you will be missed, man. And I look forward to tomorrow night. Doing a fond farewell at one last Charboneau gathering. So
I appreciate it, brother. And I'll be, and as much as it pains me, I'm kidding. That's baloney. I'll keep listening to you clowns. I'll keep reading you guys, all of you. But this podcast in particular, I enjoy because, as I will text you and say you were full of crap, whatever you were talking about. And I'll say to you, why does Jason say this? And all this sort of nonsense, and but it's fun. I enjoy it, even though I won't be around as much. I'll still be listening to you guys and reading all your stuff. And it's in all seriousness, what we do for a profession is really important right now, especially. I think people understand that. And take all your blue wall nonsense. Listen, I don't work for the news anymore. Take your blue wall stuff and stick it. It's such garbage. I'm so tired of hearing it. Facts are facts. Listen to the news. I know every fan wants to hear what's great about their team. Understand the news is the news. That's what we're doing. if you don't want to hear facts, I don't know, listen to something else. But Graham's top notch. These guys are good to follow, and keep following them because they're gonna provide you everything you need. So I'll be one of these listeners and readers now from this point, and I may still text you to give you a hard time if you're wrong about something. I'm counting on
it. Matt, I'll look forward to talking to you tomorrow night. Appreciate you taking the time, man. All right.
Thanks, brother.
Have a great. That is the great Matt Charboneau, exiting stage left from the Detroit News. Yeah.
Hey, when we end this show, can we just end it and not do a last show? Because if it goes that way, it's going to be so uncomfortable to walk out of here. Matt's a great guy, though.
He is. He's a great guy. Yeah, no,
there is a blue wall, though, Matt.
I am going to miss him on the beat tremendously, and it'll look. We've
That's
still
a
got
tough
great guys.
decision, though. Corporate or cover sports, get paid to cover sports. It's kind of fun. You guys have a fun on the road a little bit. That would be a tough decision.
Yeah, and I mean, I think there is perhaps a salary increase that's going into his decision too.
Well, yeah,
but it's lifestyle. He's got a daughter who's like a Division I softball prospect, to his youngest daughter, and just wanting to not miss those moments as much. Lots of people understand the sacrifices that are made for kids. You and I do not, but lots of other people do. We will take a quick break. When we come back, Harry Gagnon will pick the games, and then we'll do your Groovy Donut Twitter questions a little later. Couch in the Roo, presented by Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app, and our friends at Front 43 and Cask & Company.
Where else can you cheer on your team? Enjoy a mouth-watering burger or savory sushi. Sip on handcrafted cocktails or one of 46 beers on tap. Take your game day or date night to Cask & Company Kitchen Bar or Front 43 Neighborhood Pub near Frandor. Two amazing places with one awesome blended modern American Asian menu. Catch the game on one of 30 60-inch TVs or stop in for the all-you-can-eat lunch buffet. Enjoy happy hour or elevate your night out at Cask & Company or Front 43 on East Saginaw in Lansing. Ever wonder how comfortable you can be and how good you can look? Put on a Muskox flannel and find out. Muskox has new arrivals for this fall, including the Caper Green Grand Flannel, which even makes couch look good. Muskox is a Detroit-based flannel company that creates soft and durable flannels made to last a lifetime. They become a great partner with Couch in the Rube, not just because they make us look good and feel good, but because they're good people too, and a socially conscious company. For every $100 purchase, $10 is donated to the Alaska Wildlife Conservation. Muskox flannels are designed with 100% cotton that is ethically sourced and double brushed for softness. Feel the quality and comfort of a Muskox flannel by ordering at GoMuskox.com, where Couch in the Rube listeners can enjoy $15 off their flannel purchase with the promo code HOFF. Firekeepers Online Casino and Sportsbook is the site to play. Get your Vegas on right now from your phone, tablet, or laptop. All the hottest slots and tables, plus sports betting featuring in-game wagering. Download the app at firekeeperscasino.com. Go with the name you know. Firekeepers. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 or older and located in Michigan. Gambling problem? Call the Michigan Problem Gambling Helpline at 1-800-270-7117. Wherever you are on your cannabis journey, let Sky Mint Premium Cannabis be your guide, your friend, and your place. Whether you're curious about cannabis or a seasoned connoisseur, Sky Mint's knowledgeable staff will help you with a vast selection of products to choose from to fit your needs. Sky Mint believes access to the best cannabis helps people do good and feel good, so they grow it right here in Michigan, giving you high-quality, locally grown cannabis at highly accessible prices. Visit skymint.com for special offers and location information throughout Michigan, and use the promo code CouchAndRube20 for 20% off your first visit. Sky Mint Cannabis. You'll love this place.
Find our live stream, podcast archives, as well as show, affiliate, and sponsorship information at our website, SpotlightMediaStudios.com.
It is time to pick the games presented by Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. Download the app, pick the games we're betting, and of course, to do so, we are joined by the great Harry Gagnon from The Ringer. And Harry, my man, thanks for joining us.
Of course. Always, guys. Love it.
What does it feel like to be, I mean, like The Ringer, that's a step up, man. Doing Against All Odds and The Ringer, the whole network there. Is this private jets more often? Is this Springsteen a bigger part of your life? What comes with being with The Ringer?
I hope so. No, just No, it's great. We were at the Ringer when we first started against all odds, and we went on our own with the extra points. Now we're back. Sunday I had a nice little message personally from Bill Simmons welcoming us back to the Ringer. So very nice, very good. It's a lot of fun, and come up with this my cartoon today. We'll put it up on Twitter yesterday. We've got the Eagles minus 7 on my cartoon. Hopefully we can go 2-0.
All right.
But are you putting more effort into the cartoon, Harry, than the picks now? I mean, are you getting too big time now that you're animated?
We'll see. It's only 2 weeks. We'll see how it goes.
By the way, I was saying this nonstop during the Lions game.
Jared Goff.
I mean, how can you not say that?
Hey, and by the way, guys, in 2 weeks, Detroit plays on Thursday night again.
I'm going to be at that game.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
I'm going to Green Bay.
Beautiful.
Yeah, quick show update. We will not have a show that night.
No.
Thursday, the whatever that 20.
I'm not coming back.
That's it. All right. Well, decent slate of games to dig into, I think, this week. Okay, Washington minus 16 in MSU. Let's just start with the game that is of national and local interest, of course. I actually like MSU in this game, and I know that the Washington is capable of pulling away and winning, and they obviously put up a ton of yards against Boise and Tulsa and all this, or Tulane, whatever it was. But my thing is Washington is 2 years removed from 4-8. It's not like the players that they've recruited at the line of scrimmage in the trenches. This isn't Georgia. This isn't, it's not like they're that much superior to Michigan State. And so it's about whether Michigan State's defense has improved, whether their offense can keep pace. But physically, this isn't some mismatch. And I think to be minus 16 on the road in what's going to be an emotional game for Michigan State, and I think a rockin' Spartan Stadium, that's a lot of points. I picked Washington to win this game. I don't hate a sprinkle on the money line for people, but to me, 16 is just way too many. I'm going Michigan State here. Jason, where are you?
Yeah, and you see it's some books have it at 16.5. I think you said it all. I think MSU, they fight for this team. The home field advantage might help. I like the 16.5. What do you got here?
You know what, guys? I'm still going to go with Michael Penix Jr. and Washington. Last year they had the number one passing offense in NCAA football, and they're off to a fantastic start so far this year. Remember Penix, when he did play in the Big Ten, he had 5 touchdowns in one game in the Horseshoe against Ohio State. I think he's plus 850 right now for Heisman. I like that. I like taking him for a little shot here. And then I almost put up 40 last year at home against Michigan State. Now I know it's East Lansing, but I'm still going to lay the points here. Too many. I don't know if Michigan State's going to be able to stop their offense.
But, Harry, there's a scandal going on.
I mean, come on. But, boy, that is something else, isn't it? Unbelievable.
Sure is.
Yeah. At some point it's going to affect them this season. There's almost no way it won't.
$95 million.
Yeah,
well.
he's probably going to lose about 75 of that. I mean, it's who knows what he'll get for it. But
it's expensive phone sex.
Oh, yeah. No, there are numbers you can call that are less.
Jay, I didn't.
Yeah. All right. Michigan has yet to enter the college football season playing Bowling Green, who is plus 40.5 at Michigan. I mean, at some point, I just wonder, I know most teams play a couple shit non-conference games, but after last year and this year, I mean, they're just come on, Michigan. You got like the best teams you've had in a long time, and you've just got this shit schedule where you don't play anybody interesting in the non-conference. It's frustrating. Okay, Bowling Green plus 40.5 at Michigan. Michigan is a team that tends not to overrun it up when they're way ahead, and so I don't know if they cover this. I don't think Bowling Green is a particularly great football team. They lost on the road at Liberty, and then beat Eastern Illinois, a 1AA, who at times is good. I don't know how good they are. It's sort of, if Michigan really wanted to cover this, I think they could. It's just too many points for what we've seen from Michigan. If I'm out, I wouldn't bet this to save my life, but I'll hold my nose, and for our purposes, I'll take Bowling Green. Where are you at, Jason?
Bowling Green did lose to Syracuse last week by 41. So, listen, I'm taking Bowling Green. Give me the 40 and a hook.
I
don't love it.
They played Syracuse last week?
Yeah, I thought so.
I thought they played Eastern Illinois.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
What do you got, Harry?
Yeah, look, Michigan's played 8 quarters of very boring football, guys, and 0 for 2 in covering the spread. You guys were right last week on that one, taking the Rebels. I was wrong. Michigan, like I said, 0-2 covering the spread, really not running it up. I'm going to say 55-7 here. I'm going to go with Michigan one more time.
There are going to be some of our listeners who are not surprised, Harry. They think you take Michigan a lot. So just so you
Every time. That's
the.
As soon as I can jump off them, they're going to win 63-7. So.
Yeah. All right, another interesting game of somewhat local regional interest. Central Michigan plus 34.5 at Notre Dame. We've seen Central Michigan play. Again, this is another game where if Notre Dame is inclined to put it on them, I think they'll be able to some degree. We've seen some strength from Central Michigan. They are a one-dimensional team. I am going to take Notre Dame here. I don't love it though, and it's another game I would stay away from. There are a couple problems with this. One, I think Central Michigan gets us. If Central Michigan does score, I don't know that Notre Dame covers this, and so that's always risky. You see, late last week, Michigan State gives up 2 touchdowns with backup running backs fumbling, and so that sort of thing can happen. And then the flip side of that, with the way the clock runs these days, it's just harder to run it up, I think. So I'm going to go Notre Dame here, but I don't feel good about it. Where are you?
They're trying to get some steam for Hartman for the Heisman. I just think that they're going to blow this team out. Notre Dame's defense didn't allow a touchdown in the first 9 quarters it played. The Irish have allowed 15 points per game, boys. Give me Notre Dame in a rout. What do you got, Harry?
Yeah, I'm with you guys in terms of, like Graham, you saying, this you don't love this game. I don't either, but Jay makes a good point about pushing Hartman for the Heisman. He really looked fantastic in that second half against NC State last weekend. They just rolled. It was close for about 2.5 quarters, and they just rolled in the second half. I got to go with the Irish. They were great.
All right, Tennessee -6 at Florida. Rivalry game on the road at night. I mean, that is dicey. Tennessee, played Austin Peay. It wasn't an inspiring effort. I think Tennessee is pretty good. Virginia is not. They blew out Virginia in week 1. This is a tough line because on the road at night, I think Tennessee is significantly better than Florida this year. I think this is just a really hard game. I think they're trying to bait us at 6. I got this weird gut feeling that Florida covers this and it's close, and I don't know why. I wouldn't bet this, but I'm going to go Florida. I'm going to take the points.
Milton versus Mertz. You're going to take Florida, huh?
On the road in the swamp at night, yes, I'm going Florida.
Tennessee just had a players-only meeting, and we kind of know around here, unfortunately, what those kind of entail. Also, Milton, just 2 of 11 this season on passes that have traveled more than 15 yards, boys. Give me Graham Mertz and Florida in the points in the swamp. What do you got, Harry?
Yeah, Tennessee lame last week against Austin Peay. In the swamp, I'm with you guys. I'm going to take Mertz as well and taking the Gators.
All right, that's I always feel better when Harry backs us up. All right, Colorado State plus 23 at Colorado. Colorado is obviously the darling of everybody. This is the first week they've been expected to blow somebody out, though. That is a different type of, how do these guys stay focused? I know I've been a doubter, and so I feel.
Yeah, let's get to that, boys. How about that Nebraska pick?
Sorry,
I know that the Tucker news kind of took away a little bit of that shine, but you can apologize now.
I did, however. Did I not pick the MSU line before it came out almost perfectly against Richmond?
That has nothing to do with saying that you like Nebraska a lot.
There's nothing to do with it, but I'm just trying to change the subject.
Graham, I didn't. By the way, I did mean to give you props on that when I saw the line. By the way, I did mean to.
I just had a
wait a minute. Wait. Where's my props for picking Colorado by more than a touchdown? You guys both acted like I was out of my mind.
You guys were good. I stunk last week. You guys were good.
I'm going to go Colorado State here, and not because I'm anti-Deion or anti-Colorado. They've had 2 weeks off. They had a bye week to prepare for this game. They got hammered by Washington State in week 1, but Washington State, we're finding out, ain't a bad team. Just beat Wisconsin, and that was 50-24. I do not think Colorado State's good. I just think 23 is too many points for a Colorado team that's not going to overwhelm them. That this might be the game where they've got 3 stars that don't have to finish the actual game. I just think 23 is way too much here. If this should be, if this is 14.5, I might, in that range, I'd be struggling with it. Give me Colorado State. Jason, where are you?
23 points is a lot of lumber to lay with a defense like Colorado has. But after Norvell said that stuff today,
what did he say today? What did I miss?
Norvell said that when his mother told him that he takes off his sunglasses and hat. How did you not see this? It was everywhere today.
I was working.
He takes his sunglasses and hat off, but when he talks to somebody, just talking shit. And then Colorado, of course, Dion had video of Dion talking to his team. I just think they're at home again. If they played on the road, I could understand what you're saying. I just think that they hammer Colorado State. So I have no problem laying the points. What do you got, Harry?
Yeah, and the Rams are also going with a freshman quarterback in this game as well. And, yeah, that Norvell, talk about poking the buffalo here.
I mean, smart.
I think this, if Dion wants to, granted, next week they have Oregon, and the week after that they have USC, so he's got to be watching out for that. But if Dion wants to, he's not letting up in this game. No. His son's not going to be letting up in this game. If they can hang 70 on Colorado State here and prove, and for whatever it is, prove a point in Dion's mind, I think he's going to. I think they roll it up big time on Colorado State.
70?
70. Let's 70-7.
Let's go.
I no longer feel as good. I didn't know about these comments, and you don't want to poke Dion. I don't feel as good about it. I'm going to stick with my pick, but I don't feel as good as I did a few minutes ago.
And Sanders, by the way, guys, 900 yards through 2 games. His top 3 receivers have 49 receptions combined after 2 weeks. That's crazy.
Usually I have to lose 6 or 7 bets in a row on a team before I come around and start to realize it. So this is only week 3 for me on Colorado.
You're just too stubborn, man.
Yeah, it's not great. All right, to the NFL. Seahawks +5 at the Lions. I don't know what to make of what happened to Seattle, and I don't know what to make of the Rams. I definitely have a expensive Rams not to make the playoffs pick that I need to cash, so I'm not really digging what just happened last week. I still think the Seahawks are going to be a good football team, that this will be a competitive game. But I don't hate the Lions at home +5. I'm a little nervous about it. There's a week 1 overreaction. But give me the Lions here -5 against the Seahawks. Yeah. What do you think, Jason?
It's our core foundation, man. Grit.
What are you so worried about? Ford Field is going to be electric. I mean, that has to be worth at least 3 points. I know that the
I think
sports
Seattle's
books
gonna be a lot better.
are only giving a 1.5 on the home field advantage, but
Yeah.
I think you got to at least give 3. I love this a lot. I'm not even talking about it as a Lions fan, but only giving 5, Harry. I think they beat Seattle. What do you got?
Well, you know what? I hope, guys, I'm all in with Detroit with you guys, and I hope I'm wrong. But Seattle it can't be that bad what we saw last week. It just can't be that bad. I just don't understand what happened to their offense, especially in the second half. No points. I want Detroit to win this game, and I think they will win this game, but by a field goal. Give me Seattle with the points.
Iguna Yaba Gita Jared Goff.
This is a big game for the Lions, and that's they got. And I don't care how it looked. Like they just got to get it done. They really don't need to cover. They just need to win the game somehow. But I do think it'll be somewhat close. But the 5 doesn't scare me a ton. All right, Chiefs -3.5 at Jaguars. I actually like the Jaguars here. I'm not saying that what the Lions did prove the Chiefs weren't great. It'll be interesting to see. They get a couple guys back, maybe healthy. The key dudes, obviously, including Chris Jones on the defensive line, who I think makes a difference. But -3.5 on the road. I think there are some issues at receivers. I think the Jaguars are decent. 3.5 is enough. I wouldn't bet this game because I'm not going to bet against the Chiefs, but I would take the Jaguars on this line. Where are you, Jason?
I know the 3.5 just seems like they're trying to reel you into some sort of sucker bet. The Chiefs need this game, but I just think the 3 and a hook. I think the Chiefs win on the money line, but give me the Jags and the 3 and a hook, Harry. What you got?
Well, you guys know how I feel about Andy Reid. I'd love to see Kansas City go 0-2. Calvin Ridley was huge last week in a kind of a statement game for him after being suspended last year. Christian Kirk, only a couple catches, I think 9 total yards. I think he plays a big role here. They played Kansas City tough twice last year. I'm going to take the Jags. I'm going to take the points here. That could even maybe a little sprinkle, guys. Money line?
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah, I don't hate that, actually. Home dogs are always a good play.
But is that because you hate Andy Reid?
It is, but I do like what the offense looks like on Jacksonville. And again, my man in the secondary for them, Andre Sisco from Syracuse playing great so far this season. It is a little bit with the Andy Reid, but still, this Jaguars offense is very, very good.
All right, 49ers -7 at the Rams. And look, this is if the Rams are for real, you'll see it. The problem here is we've seen this matchup in the last few years. The 49ers are just too physical, clobber the Rams. They looked phenomenal last week at Pittsburgh on the road. This will be a 80% 49ers crowd in Los Angeles. I have no problem laying the 7 here. This is like if I had a lock of the week and anything, this would be it. Jason, where are you?
I know, because Stafford's healthy again, and he can put up some numbers, but I just think this 49ers team's too good. Give me the 49ers -7. What do you got, Harry?
Yeah, I'm with you guys on that, but very impressive, though, like with the Rams, though, last week in terms of them able to move the ball without Kupp. But still, yeah, Graham, you're right. Historically, the last few years, since basically McVay's been there, San Francisco owns the Rams, so I'm going to jump on with you guys, too, and take San Fran.
All right. Jets +8 at Cowboys, +8.5, sorry, at Cowboys. Just the Aaron Rodgers deal sucks for Jets fans. I just can't imagine being a Jets fan right now. Cowboys, of course, look fantastic. I do think the Jets' defense is legitimately amazing. The question is, what are they going to be on offense? Can they do enough against a high-powered Cowboys team? 8.5 is a huge number in the NFL for a Jets team that's that good. I think this is too many points here. It's 8.5 for this Jets defense. I don't love this because I can see how this could just spiral. But give me the Jets, Jason. Where are you?
You can see everything happen, right?
Yeah.
I'm with you on the Jets defense and Mike McCarthy and 8.5. I mean, there's no way, right, Harry? Give me Jets +8 and a hook. I mean, Zach Wilson has a little confidence going. I like that many points. Give me the Jets. What do you got?
Yeah, I mean, like I just said, Seattle couldn't have looked that bad. I don't think Dallas was that. I mean, I don't think Dallas. And what we saw was unbelievable, but I don't think they're that good. It was just a bunch of errors by the Giants. I think this is a lot of points here for the Jets. And I also think it's going to be, obviously Jets, Dallas, both fantastic defenses. I really like the under of 39.5 as well. But if I like the under, I got to take more than a touchdown. I'm taking the Jets for a point.
Oh, man. Browns -2.5 at Steelers. Last game of the night, last game of the weekend. Browns looked really good last week. Steelers didn't. And so you get a home dog. And, again, give me a home dog bounce back in week 2. On an overreaction all day. Give me the Steelers here. I'll take it. I'll probably sprinkle on the money line as well. Jason, where are you?
Yeah, this is going to be a spite bet because the Steelers screwed me. So Browns, give me the Browns -2 and a hook. What do you got, Harry?
You know what, Graham, you stole my thunder there. Everything you said is what I was going to say. The Browns looked fantastic last week. The Steelers couldn't get anything going. So it makes sense to probably like the Browns this week. But I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to jump on with you and take the Steelers.
Yeah, no, I too often, and I think this is an important thing. There's a lot of money to be made in week 2 if you just go against some of the things you saw in week 1. I think that's unfortunately
just
that might
big
be
chaos. That's pretty much for the NFL.
All right, do you have a parlay or anything you like, Jason?
No.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right, no, that's okay. So I don't have a great parlay in the Premier League, but it is back after that bullshit international break. And I do have a couple things I really, really like. And the biggest one, I like Brentford at Newcastle +1, full goal. But I also like a little on the money line there. I think Newcastle is vulnerable. I think Brentford in the counter is good. +481 on the money line, Brentford. That is my the play I love the absolute most this week. And you could do a heavy favorite, parlay with Tottenham against Sheffield United at -391, a few things like that. There's some stuff out there, and maybe I'll tweet that out if I like it. But I'm curious, sort of like a West Ham underdog against Man City, which is ridiculous. But the main thing I like, Brentford +1 and Brentford +41 on the money line at Newcastle. That is a 12:30 game on the on Saturday. So you can skip the college football, watch that, win your money, then watch the MSU game right there. You like that game, Harry?
I don't know, but I just wrote it down. I'm all over it. I'm going to jump on it with you. Brentford, I'm in.
We appreciate you, Harry. Harry, we look forward to next week. Listen to Against All Odds with Harry and Cousin Sal on the Ringer podcast. We appreciate your time as always, my man.
Thanks, man.
Always, guys. And by the way, the Giants are my best play of the week this week, guys. I like the Giants minus the 5. I think they bounce back with a big game against Arizona. By the way, catch me on the sidelines. I'm going to be on the field right before game time, guys. Maybe you'll catch me on one of these early.
At the Giants game?
At the Giants game. Maybe you guys can catch me on one of these shows.
Are you picking up the tee after the kickoff? I mean, what are you doing?
I'm working on it.
That would be incredible. Harry picks up the tee. I would pay to see that. All right, you're a beautiful man. Have fun this weekend.
Okay, take care, guys.
That is the great Harry Gagnon again from the Ringer and Against All Odds with Cousin Sal. God damn. Yeah. Terrific.
Yeah.
All right. We are going to take a really quick break. When we come back, we are going to dig into your Groovy Donut Twitter questions. There are lots of them. There's some really good ones. We'll do those conversations next. Couch in the Rube, presented by Firekeepers and the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app and Front 43 Neighborhood Pub and Cask & Company Kitchen and Bar.
Wherever you are on your cannabis journey, let Sky Mint Premium Cannabis be your guide, your friend, and your place. Whether you're curious about cannabis or a seasoned connoisseur, Sky Mint's knowledgeable staff will help you with a vast selection of products to choose from to fit your needs. Sky Mint believes access to the best cannabis helps people do good and feel good, so they grow it right here in Michigan, giving you high-quality, locally grown cannabis at highly accessible prices. Visit skymint.com for special offers and location information throughout Michigan, and use the promo code CouchAndRube20 for 20% off your first visit. Sky Mint Cannabis. You'll love this place. Firekeepers Online Casino and Sportsbook is the site to play. Get your Vegas on right now from your phone, tablet, or laptop. All the hottest slots and tables, plus sports betting featuring in-game wagering. Go with the name you know. Firekeepers. Get your first casino deposit and sports wager matched up to $500 each. Visit firekeeperscasino.com to download the mobile app today. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 or older and located in Michigan. Gambling problem? Call the Michigan Problem Gambling Helpline at 1-800-270-7117.
Find Couch in the Rube podcasts on Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Google Podcasts, CastBox, and the Rube's favorite, Podcast Addict.
Couch in the Rube, presented by our friends at Firekeepers Casino and Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. Download the app today. Bet the games we're betting. And our Thursday night show also brought to you by our friends at Front 43 Neighborhood Pub and Cask & Company Kitchen and Bar. Great place to watch the games this weekend. It is time now for our Groovy Donut Twitter questions. Jason, are you ready, sir?
Yeah, man. Eric Schultz up first. In your mind, what was the % chance Mel Tucker was going to be fired within the next three seasons? What was the % chance he was going to eventually compete for the conference? Based on your answers, did MSU catch a break by being able to get rid of him now and not pay him? And from the professor, from a strictly football standpoint, would MSU football have been in a better place in the next few years without Tucker?
With or without Tucker, I think. Yeah, it's my bad on the edit there. To get to Eric's question, the % chance that Mel Tucker was going to be fired within the next 3 seasons. Given the size of that contract, and I don't think they were going to be awful. I don't think that was going to happen for anything on the field. % chance he was eventually going to compete for the conference. You know, I had thought that the way they were recruiting and the way they were building, this was a key year to sort of start to see some momentum toward that, and then next year obviously was more telling. But the % chance, given who else is in the conference and who else is coming into the conference, I would say it was a 25% thing that they were going to be able to compete for the conference. So in that sense, did MSU catch a break? In some ways, yes. And I think you feel that from the fan base because of the size of the contract. If Mel Tucker had a 5 or 6 year deal that paid him $6 million a year like he originally had, and even if it was rolling over and the buyout was lower and the amount, there would be no break to catch because you don't want this sort of thing to happen. It disrupts what you've got going in your football program. But I do think there is a sense of, boy, they were really married to him for a long time. and base risk versus reward, what we had seen, I can understand that feeling. I wasn't sold either way. I really wasn't. And are they in a better place in a few years with or without him? It was still so hard to tell because his primary recruiting classes, the 2 real recruiting classes, were so new, and there were so many promising things in them. So there were some reasons to think that this thing might work okay. There were some other reasons to think, it might not.
Next one from Eric Schultz. How much per year does MSU's next head coach get paid?
Not $9.5 million, unless
and hopefully not a decade.
Unless it's like Nick Saban or something like that. I mean, there are very few guys who are really worth the huge money that if you went and got, Lincoln Riley, who's not coming, I'm just saying, there are a couple of guys that are worth the money. Otherwise, you want your donor base freed up to fund NIL now. That it's just different than when Tucker got that deal. I would guess they want to be competitive in the market. They brought Tucker in around, $6 million initially. I would guess it's still going to be $7.5 million. It's still going to be a substantial amount. They were paying Tucker before the donor base $7.1 million, I think, roughly. So just the school was paying him that. I would expect it to be in the $6.5 to $7.5 million range, depending on who they get. Depending on like if it's Harlan Barnett continues forward and gets the job, it'll probably be a little less.
Be a lot less.
If it's a Mid-American Conference coach who you're bringing on, it'll be a little bit less. But you do want to pay market value. You don't want to bring in a coach who wins a little bit and gets poached. And you can always give them a big deal, but you do want to pay market value.
Dominic next. Why the fuck are we still playing on this rubbery AIDS? Grass is the fucking best, and Alan Haller, alluding to a change for MSU, would be as tragic as his Sunday presser. Grass only, and I'm not just salty that I placed a massive futures bet on the Jets Monday morning.
I think you are just salty. It is interesting because the movement back toward grass that we have seen in the last year is significant. And because for a long time, turf had gotten so much better and more cost-effective in a lot of ways. Every high school is moving to it because you can have your band out there, you can have concerts, you can have little league stuff all year long. The grass doesn't get beat up, but and it was supposed to be as healthy or as safe as the grass. It had gotten so good. The evidence now is it's not, and so that is going to be and even if it's closer to it. And so we'll see. I would be surprised now if Michigan State moves back. There's reports now that every NFL team should go to it. That's what the NFLPA is asking for, which is interesting. Places like Ford Field, could they do grass? And there are ways to do it in indoors, but just sort of some interesting. This is what people want, and so there's that.
Dominic, with this one, I hate complimenting you, but I wouldn't trade you for anyone else in the times of crisis. Graham, that being said, many of your peers Mel Tuckering themselves all over the Twitters this week is just fucking expected at this point. I won't name names except Wojo. Total AIDS.
Welcome to the blue wall.
There is a sense of piling on that happens, and it's annoying. And, look, MSU deserves skepticism, and sometimes it's comeuppance, and there are columns to be written, but sometimes it does seem like they don't come from a place of great knowledge, or they're just obvious, and it's not great. And sometimes there are just too many news outlets. It's what there are. So and the problem with something like Twitter is that if you're on Twitter and that's where you're getting all your news from, it's just a deluge, right? It just continues. Whereas if you're not, like before social media, you read one or two papers online, 1 or 2 news outlets, and you read the columnist there or whatever, the news there, and you get it, and it doesn't seem like overkill. Now you're just seeing all of it, and so it seems like overkill. The real key in these moments is just go to the sources that you trust, that you like. Go to the Lansing State Journal, and just, we're putting all the stuff we want from the Freep there. Sometimes we run some stuff we don't want from the Freep, but that's fine too. But we're putting all the stuff we want from USA Today there, or pick this. If you like the Detroit News, if you like the Free Press, pick your particular cup of tea, and just go to their website and avoid Twitter in these moments. And I would advise, or be on Twitter, and do a you can mute the word Tucker or something like that, so you just don't see any of it.
Yeah, we don't have enough time for all of that.
Next one from Dominic. Wasn't a question, but fuck it. I'm a VIP anyway. I'm getting drunk at the game and finding D'Antonio after and asking him if it's true what Graham said 478 times, that he thought he had a squad in 2019 when he went toe-to-toe with Ohio State for a quarter and a half.
I actually, Dominic, I'm hoping to ask Mark D'Antonio this in the next few weeks himself. So hopefully we can both get that answer and have that resolved. And I think being removed from it enough, he might.
That was a great quarter and a half.
He might admit it.
Paul Cornell next. Is it bad that I'm more excited about the potential of a great hire than what we previously had? I supported Tuck to see this thing through, but had questions. MSU has a lower floor potentially, but higher ceiling possibility as well. P.S. First post ever.
Appreciate you, Paul. No, I think that's fine. That's reasonable. I think a couple things happened. One, the jury was still out on Mel Tucker. A lot of people did support him, but a lot of people feel let down, and the vibes change, and Harlan Barnett seems like a good guy you can get behind, and it's early enough in the season that there's still optimism. It's a 2-0 team. Nobody wants to feel like shit, and then Michigan State is also on the front foot if it does make an outside hire of being able to do that ahead of other programs, and some people just want to reset, and I don't think there's anything bad about that. It's how you feel, and there's you've read enough now about Mel Tucker, and you've seen enough of his football that I can understand that you'd rather have something else.
Alex James next. Why is it so hard to fire a head coach, but assistants all over the country get canned left and right every year? Justice for the not so little guy.
Length of contract, size of contracts. Most assistants have 1 or 2 year deals, and so you're not paying them once you fire them. Head coaches, you're paying them a lot once you fire them. It's just a length of contract sort of deal.
Suburban Spartan Dad next. Complete this sentence. If Michigan State has accomplished blank by halftime, they have a chance of beating Washington.
Making Michael Penix uncomfortable to some degree. Like, he's going to have his moments. He's going to put up touchdowns and yards, but like, he can't just. Boise State he just picked him apart. They never got to him. Like, you got to make that guy feel you a little bit.
It's got to be a so-so first half for him.
Yeah. You got to have moments where you go, oh boy, Michigan State won that. They're getting off. You got to get off on a couple third downs that end Washington drives. Well short of the 50. Those sort of things that, like, okay, Michigan State's going to have a shot here. Give your own offense a chance to keep pace.
Dan Grafe next. Saban suggested Tucker and Bobby Williams. Should MSU ask his opinion again? How much is D'Antonio going to be involved in the hiring process?
I think you always ask Saban's opinion because he's Nick Saban, but you have to be aware of what he suggested, and you still want Nick Saban's. I don't say blessing's the wrong word, but if he thinks a guy's worth looking at, you've got to trust your own instincts when you interview him. Though I do think D'Antonio will be involved a small bit. I don't know to what degree, but it might be a part of a committee. He won't have any say in it really, but he's a guy who has a tremendous amount of knowledge about not just how to coach college football and what matters. And not only did he give an interview that Alan Haller still remembers, because Alan Haller was part of that committee before he even worked at MSU that picked Mark D'Antonio. Alan Haller will tell you he knew right away that's Michigan State's football coach. That's Haller said to me, that's our coach. So not only do you have a guy who understands what you should hear, but a guy who really understands Michigan State. And I think that's important. Fit is important. One of Mel Tucker's challenges that was becoming obvious is that he came from Ohio State, LSU, Alabama, Georgia, the NFL. But those other big schools and the cultures and resources they had, and more culture that they had, and what is then expected and how to build it that way when Michigan State is not that. I think you need somebody who understands the institution, the fit, the type of place MSU is, and Mark D'Antonio would probably be a benefit being able to recognize that person.
Spartan Johnny next. Graham, how long have you known Mel Tucker was the wrong guy to lead this program? 1 month? 1 year? 2 years? Felt like background info had you feeling some type of way about Mel for a while now. You just weren't at liberty to express your opinion due to your profession.
No, I would be lying if I said that I was sure he was the wrong guy to lead the program for a long while. I think there are some things that it made me question it a little bit in recent weeks and months. But I didn't know for sure. I wasn't sold on him either way. And I really was truly open to what this season looked like, and especially 24. And then in 25 was the you ought to be there year. But 23 momentum, some things you should see. In 24, a real competitive year. I was no, I'm not spinning. I mean, that's the way I felt until not too long ago.
Spartan Johnny, how far down Haller's list was Izzo to take over the football team if in need?
All the way down. A couple things with that. One is the concept of Izzo taking over Michigan State football that was floated around, and I don't believe floated around without some level of merit. I believe Izzo was behind maybe that floating. Would have been him taking over a program and building his program. So it's his staff. He builds the staff. He brings in coordinators that he trusts, that he likes, and he would oversee it. They would do the football. Somebody who's not part of that staff interjecting themselves as the head coach right now just wouldn't. It would be bizarre. He doesn't know how any of this works. And he wouldn't do that. Number one, he's got a great college basketball team this year. But it would just never happen.
Next one from Spartan Johnny. So maybe that Jared Goff or Josh Allen trade by Graham wasn't such a bad idea after all, eh?
Aha.
Oh, shit. My Buffalo Bills. Jesus, come on. Just keep dumping it down.
Yeah, Josh Allen is going to have to learn at some point. I mean, he's a great, great quarterback, better than I thought he was going to be. So I'm not going to take credit for anything I ever evaluated him early on.
He's got to stop taking hits.
Yeah, and he's got to stop taking chances he doesn't need to. You're playing a team that just lost their quarterback. Stop taking risk. You're going to win the game if you don't turn it over 4 times. Like that's it was not a great night for him.
Plus size softball dad next. If D'Antonio doesn't hold MSU hostage for the retention bonus, I'm sure they could have negotiated an earlier payment, and leaves in November. Does MSU even look at Mel Tucker? This is the worst nostalgia act in history.
No, Mel Tucker is probably not the coach if the timing didn't happen the way it did. But I don't know who would have been. And I don't, at one point I went through some of the coaches who were available then, but it's probably not Mel Tucker. I think people are grateful to have D'Antonio back for the most part. I don't know how the whole current staff feels about it. And D'Antonio, I think, will be smart enough to insert himself carefully in with his opinion and how he, where he's needed, what he's asked for. I mean, he doesn't have any power here, and nor does he want to disrupt things that are in place. But he is there to guide and advise, and I think he can have value there. But it really is. Here's why you should have faith that D'Antonio can do this well. He has, to this point, been the perfect retired football coach since he left. He has been supportive. He's come back and watched his own players take their lumps against Rutgers. He's been around Mel Tucker's program. He's gone out and raised money. He's done all sorts of golf outings and donorships. He's enjoyed it. Like, he has been about MSU, about the program, not bitter, he has been the perfect retired coach in a lot of ways, which speaks to having an understanding of what his role should be and where he should insert himself and where not.
Jeff Peterson next. The previous regime was a high transactional-based building of the roster. Coach Barnett, I'm guessing, will be more relationship-based. In a portal NIL Dion world, is this still feasible at a school like MSU?
I think you need a mix of it. I really do. I think there is something to, the relationships matter, and I think they do. And at a place like MSU, you need relationships because it's not always going to be completely about the money. You got to be people who want to play there. And I believe it was a lot about relationships. There was some transactional nature to it relative to what Mark D'Antonio was, but Mel Tucker built relationships. That staff has built relationships. This wasn't just transactional. This wasn't Dion transactional. And I think you have to find the right mix. You have to find it's a tough needle or a tough thread to needle to thread. Fuck.
Needle in a haystack?
Fuck. No.
Oh.
Fuck. Anyway, it's a tough whatever to thread because
threaded needle?
Yeah. The because it's there's just
what was that noise?
I don't know. Okay, let's move on.
All right. Ryan Schultz with this one. Graham used to talk about how MSU went all in on Tucker to avoid regrets of losing the next Saban. Should we have been more worried about the regret of committing an obscene amount of money to an unproven coach?
Yeah, except it's not your money, and it's not. I mean, it's. I'm not saying it's not consequential to the school, but and perhaps. But I also understand why they did it still to this day. The length of the contract is what I never quite got. I mean, could you not have done the same 6-year deal for $9.5 million a year and got the same effect?
And it's not your money, but it's still $70 million that's being kind of donated or something. I mean, does that mean they're not going to donate any more than the $70 million? I mean,
you're talking about Michigan State, the
to
university?
To pay off Tucker, yeah, because there's $70 million. I mean, it's not your money, but it's your team you're rooting for is going to be strapped down because you don't have any more money to go pay guys for NIL. That what Tucker was complaining about.
Yeah, but that's separate from the donor. You're right. I mean, I don't think the donors will owe him anything. The MSU will have to pay him some, perhaps. Look, I get why they did it, and they probably should have been also worried about that. But if you think back to that moment, how people were feeling, the idea that LSU was out there, I think they probably should have made sure. But I think Alan Haller did know that there were at least some teams sniffing around, that there was interest in Mel Tucker. To what degree, I don't think we know. If you think about how excited people were in that moment, how that 37-33 win started, that 8-0 in year 2, the competence they had shown week in and week out at Rutgers, at Miami, places where it just looked like a program that was on the rise. And they remembered the Saban situation, and a lot of those same people are around. They did not want that. I get why they did it. The length of the deal, to me, is still where it's like, if you need to keep
it, make them feel better about spreading the money out to 10 years, or
well, no, you wouldn't do $95 million. You'd still do $9.5 million a year, but you do it over 6 years or something. I just don't know why. Did they really have to go 10 years to get Tucker to sign it? That I don't know.
Did they have a lot of competition for Tucker though?
I don't know.
There was some, but
I don't know what degree.
Ryan Schultz, who were you more surprised to see pop up in social media posts for Dog Week? Miles Bridges or Max Christie? Oh, it's Max Christie,
by
right?
far, yeah, right?
Yeah.
Because Miles Bridges, whether he should be there or not, different question. But Max Christie, I mean, that is I think that's a good sign. Guys who don't leave the program maybe is, I don't want to say on good terms. It wasn't on bad terms, but it just wasn't.
But it was kind of a short kind of a relationship.
Yeah, it didn't have a great finish maybe. And the fact that he even wants to be part of things going forward, I think that's a real good sign for things. So when kids get away and as they grow into the NBA, they really respect and miss and value that experience.
Last one from Ryan Schultz. Between the disaster of a press conference Sunday and the basketball program posting videos and pics with Miles Bridges the same week that an MSU coach is accused of sexual harassment, should MSU be putting more emphasis on working closely with a good PR firm?
This is Izzo's big weakness, and it is he can't he should have a conversation with Miles Bridges and say, you're still my guy.
Well, what does Miles need to do to kind of
he needs time to
come
pass?
Back?
Yeah, well, he needs time to pass. He needs a lot of contrition, but also time to pass. There just needs to be a period of time where Miles Bridges doesn't show up at Breslin Center, doesn't show up around the
2 years or 3.
I would give it 5, at least.
Wow.
And there needs to be he just this isn't like that. This didn't happen. I mean, he beat up his wife, right? That is something he did that is a really awful example.
But if he comes out and maybe has a presser, 5 years, I understand what he did was terrible, but we have to give these guys a second chance.
Nobody's saying he's going to play in the NBA. I'm just talking about
you just said 5 years.
I'm talking about being one of the faces of MSU basketball. You don't get to do that again right away. And Izzo's bad at sort of separating those two things and pushing these guys away. And I know he thinks Miles is a great guy. And I covered Miles Bridges and thought a lot of him when I covered him. But and whether what he did was a one-time thing, and it often isn't, but whether it was or not, what he did was awful enough that he just cannot be around the program for a little while.
Don't coach my team.
Nick Palmer, how many times have you been interviewed this week? How many hours of sleep have you gotten since Sunday?
Yeah, I would say it's in, 15 interviews maybe, something around there. Maybe less than that. It just feels like that. It's probably a lot less than that. Hours of sleep.
Did Hondo call?
Hondo did not call. Hours of sleep, only a couple. I didn't get much, Sunday, a couple hours. One other really short night. just because I'm a shitty slow writer. So I had a couple. I was tired for a couple days, but I'm caught up now.
Craig Robinson next. Even before the coaching move occurred, did you feel that this team truly had the potential to play up to opponents, such as being the Big Four on their schedule? And how much does that sentiment change now?
Yeah, I don't think it changes a ton for this roster, this team. I still think, I think this team's got some decent leadership. I think it's a pretty focused group. I think the real question is when they get to the top teams on their schedule, where are they in their season? How many things have gone wrong? How have they had, the Big Four, when we talk about it, I'm guessing you're thinking Washington, Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State, and you could argue that Iowa on the road is certainly as difficult as that. But where are they? Where are their heads? How are they feeling? If they've lost badly to Michigan by the time they get to, I do think this season's going to have some challenges it would not have otherwise in terms of guys in the portal, guys looking ahead, coaches looking ahead. So I do think the more the more they can avoid losing 2 in a row, 3 in a row, keeping some level of momentum, being competitive week in and week out will really help.
Next one from Craig, more of a request than question, Graham. Can you please do your best to quelch any silly coaching rumors that will surely and repeatedly occur until at least Thanksgiving? Already read some media speculating within 48 hours of the suspension.
Yeah, I don't love it, and I'll tell you why. I'm not going to do it. No, we had a conversation at the Lansing State Journal today about when you start looking at those articles. And I said at least minimum 2 weeks. You got to
5 years.
The guy has just been hired as the acting coach. Let this thing take hold for a minute.
Got to be first though.
Fuck that. Don't you look like a dipshit right now. You're just guessing, and you're just people talk about things you're doing for clicks. If you're guessing coaches right now, you are doing it for clicks because number one, and that's okay too. It's a fun conversation because the odds are they're going to go outside. I just can.
I mean, when Aaron Rodgers went down, people were like, Tom Brady's going to get a call.
Right.
It just would never work out.
But he's that's a good point.
People just throwing shit out.
It's going to be at least a couple weeks. But I will do. I'd like to say I will quelch it all, except I know some of the Twitter questions that are to follow, so I can't make that promise.
Gavin Haas next. What tier of coaches can we expect for the upcoming coaching search?
Here we go.
We can shoot higher than a MAC-level coach, right? And from Matt C. What is the percentage chance MSU pays the next coach top 10 money versus going cheap and hires a loser from the MAC or Group of 5?
You want to get the best coach. If that is a Group of 5 coach, you don't – I mean, how does a Nick Saban coached a year at Toledo? Brian Kelly was at Central Michigan and then Cincinnati. Get the best coach. And not all the best coaches are in the Power 5 currently. There are a lot of guys in Group of 5. I think you go get the best guy. I think there will be some consideration for some Group of 5 coaches. And look, you don't want to do anything to save money, but you want to get the best. Jason Candle at Toledo, the guy that they ought to at least look at. I'm not saying he's the right hire, but if they do not give it to Harlan Barnett, if it does wind up being where they need to turn the page, they're going to look at a lot of guys. I think Alan Haller knows this will be. He won't get another opportunity if they don't get this one right. You get this right regardless of who it is. And if you fall in love with Jason Candle on an interview just because he coaches at Toledo, you hire him. You make that move.
Next one from Gavin. Are the Cowboys and 49ers the only teams in the way of Detroit winning the NFC this season? Listen to these questions.
Wow. So what about Philly? Philly's out? No.
Yeah.
No, they're a lot. You didn't know.
What about the division? Green Bay?
Yeah.
It's just early. It's week 1, right?
Yeah. No. So let me ask you this, Jason. After the first week, Thursday night, everybody's on a high. Lions win. Should be on a high, naturally. After you watched Green Bay, after you watched Minnesota, is there anything that do you feel better or worse about the Lions' chances?
Go Lions, restore the roar.
No, I mean, obviously, I just want to see this team on the road. They showed it in Kansas City. And then I just think Seattle, I'm not even looking towards any of those games. I'm just looking forward to Seattle. And then I'm looking forward to the NFC Championship if it's possible. I mean, the Thursday game, I was about to have a heart attack. How the hell am I going to handle an NFC Championship?
Yeah.
So, no, to answer your question, I didn't really care.
Okay.
Michael Warhit next. Can you list the top 5 best realistic coaching candidates for the Spartans?
Well, I think Harlan Barnett is one, just because we don't know how the season's going to go. He's already in place, and if it goes well, he'll get a look and should. If it doesn't go well,
Deion?
No, it would be interesting to see if Narduzzi is actually interested, if that's something that makes sense. Would you like Narduzzi or no?
No.
Okay.
Can't say that I would.
Yeah. No, I think there are others, though. I think Lance Leopold at Kansas would be an interesting guy to look at. I think Jason Candle at Toledo would be interesting to look at. The Duke coach, Elko, I kind of like, a little bit as a guy. The name that I keep thinking of is Jim Leonard, the guy who was at Wisconsin. It would have been a really revered defensive coordinator, gets the interim job, and doesn't get the head coaching job, and is now just a defensive analyst at Illinois. He would be available. So but there are a lot of guys out there, and they're going to get. You interview these guys, you see who's a fit. There are a lot of young guys, and so it's Harlan Barnett is going to have to do enough if he's going to be seriously considered to make them think that 3 years from now the program's in a good place if it's him. I also think this, though, if Barnett is going to be the guy, they will make that move in mid-November. You want as much as a leg up on recruiting as you can. You want to just shore that up. The staff knows they're going to be in place, so you keep the coaches you want to keep, all those things. So I think if it's going to be Barnett, you'll know it by mid-November. You'll know it after the Ohio State game maybe, and that doesn't mean they have to beat Ohio State, but that's one of those games where, if they've got a decent record, things are going well, and they're competitive at Ohio State, he might get that look.
Eric Larson next. What would it take for you to believe and not fear getting your souls crushed for the Lions this year? For me, making it to the Super Bowl, win or lose, couldn't leave me broken. Yeah, but what if it's like the 28-3 Super Bowl? Patriots, Falcons.
There are ways to be crushed in the Super Bowl. The other reason to be crushed if the Lions lose a Super Bowl is they don't have a Super Bowl winning quarterback. In other words, they don't have a guy who's likely to always get back. They also have a coordinator who may be the key to the whole thing, who's going to leave for a head coaching job. And then grit ain't going to be enough. And so, I'm
going to burn one of my hot takes for Sunday.
Okay.
What if Stafford comes back? Well, let's say that happens and Goff isn't the guy. What if Stafford comes back and that would be the perfect ending, would it not?
It would be.
Lions, Matt Stafford takes us to the Super Bowl and wins it because Goff couldn't.
I wouldn't hate it.
JD, do you think Caden Hauser is Maxwell 2.0? I saw that bullet to Trey Mosley last week, and I feel like I'm starting to put 2 and 2 together.
I don't know. I just don't. I don't have enough information on Hauser. I don't think anybody does. We haven't seen him play enough. I do think it's very clear that Noah Kim is ahead of him, and that's been made clear by the coaching staff. But I don't know. Caden Hauser's still a very young quarterback. He's still a redshirt freshman. He still could have a terrific career. Maxwell took over much later in his career. By the way, if you want like a Caden Hauser donut, if you want a Harlan Barnett donut, you could even get an Andrew Maxwell donut. Go old school if you want. Trey Mosley, whatever it is, Groovy Donuts will do that. Make Groovy Donuts part of your tailgate by going to groovydonuts.com and placing your order today or giving them a call. There are 2 locations, of course, in East Lansing on Lake Lansing Road and also in Williamston. Monica and Andrew, happy to take care of you. Just look, they're the best donuts around, and you'll notice the difference. The people at your tailgate will love you if you have it. The people at your gathering, at your house, at your wedding, whatever it is, they are there for your occasions. It is groovydonuts.com and or swing by either location, 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. Thursday through Sunday.
You've had too many donuts, mate.
Matt C., do you think in-game management will be better without Mel Tucker?
I have no way to know, but that would help if Harlan Barnett wound up being really good at that. No question.
Pretty wild. Alex James, should what happens on the field Saturday matter to fans, or is this now about surviving the season and finding the next coach?
Oh, it should absolutely matter. To me, this is different than if a coach had just been fired for losing and it was a total rebuild.
Yeah, remember that? Firing a coach for losing.
This is
not beating your bag on a phone.
They just had 2 recruiting classes that are, really promising classes. And so you'd ideally like to continue that momentum regardless, and you'd like to see some of that take hold. And, these football, it's hard to win in football. I think if it wound up being that this staff that was under Mel Tucker wound up being a really good staff for this team, and you could see the growth, and Harlan Barnett wind up being a good leader of that staff, and it looked like they could, we'll get to see a little bit about how they recruit based on how they hang on to some of these guys. And that's a hard thing to do when they don't know if you're going to get the job or not. But, these guys have all been good recruiters of their own right. And yes, Mel Tucker was the face of that. But, I think there are a lot of people that would love if Harlan Barnett wound up being a great coach. We just don't know yet.
Travis Maynard next. Just curious, how many 30-minute late-night phone calls have you two guys had with anyone that's not your mom? I'm sorry that there is zero chance that there wasn't mutual interest, at least for a while. Not condoning what happened, but this thing has been stinking like fish from the start. If someone was wanking it on one of those phone calls with you, would you hang up or let them finish first?
You want to take this?
Oh, I would listen. I would laugh my ass off.
Yeah, you and I are different. Not different from each other, but we're different than we would have handled this weirdly. But yeah, no question. Look, there was flirting both ways. If you're on the phone 27 times, with somebody who's married who clearly has interest in you, and you're talking about there's no question about that. There is some level of flirting, regardless. My own mother is not a fan of the way Brenda Tracy handled this. Like we go on walks every day, and I'm
not happy the way Mel Tucker handled it either.
Well, that's the bigger point.
Yeah.
That's the thing. This isn't.
Out of all people.
Correct. Like Mel Tucker, the stupidity here is incredible. Yeah. And, Mel Tucker has done enough just through that to the embarrassing. And this was a vendor that he had brought in for the university to speak to his team about consent and better choices. And
I don't care who brought her in. I don't care whatever happened. He's still going to that next step, dude. Come on. Yeah. Jay Riemenschneider next. How many diehard Spartans who were still supporting Mel Tucker on the field as recently as last week will now flip and say, I knew he wasn't the right guy, because now the scandal gives them an excuse to admit they didn't think he was the right guy? Yeah, that's how it works.
Yeah, I do think, you try to find the positives in your own thought, and you believe in somebody until you don't, or as long as you can. And Mel Tucker gave people a lot of reasons to believe, though. Sure. If you look at the last two recruiting classes, those are about as good as Mark D'Antonio ever had, at least in terms of the stars coming in. Now, the 2010 class would compete with the best of Alabama and Georgia and all those, as it turned out. We just didn't know when they were recruited. But so there were lots of things that Mel Tucker had done to show promise and to try to elevate Michigan State to a place that it wanted to be. And there will be, for the next coach, some benefits in terms of what they've done in renovations, what they've done in resources and private planes, and how they treat players and the whole operation. The next coach will benefit from Mel Tucker. And there's no question about that. Mel Tucker's entire tenure is not some failure. It is just not. Now, he screwed it up at the end. There's no question about it. It was unclear how far he could take it, what he would be eventually. But this is not a complete failure of a tenure. There are some things in place that will be good for the next coach, including perhaps some of the talent he left and the way he left, because you just got to kind of not be an ass, and people are going to like you right away.
Jay Riemenschneider next. Say 2021 went 98% for MSU, as it did, except MSU beat Purdue and lost to Michigan. Was that win over Michigan still worth it? That win got Tuck paid, created unrealistic expectations, now will probably be money blown. There's scrutiny and ridicule for MSU, and the fallout could set the program back even further.
I don't know. Would you trade that 37-33 win to Michigan right now? No, I think,
that was a wild win for Michigan State. And, like you say, it's not your money or our money or whatever. So what do you care about that contract?
And I think the way that people felt that day, the way they got to feel,
it's unbelievable.
Life is about how things make you feel in moments and all that. So I just don't, you don't trade that shit. You don't.
Spartan 18770, will D'Antonio scream into his headset demanding an over-the-center QB sneak by Jay Johnson? If he does, give him the head coaching job. If he does that.
What if the first play is a jet sweep?
Yeah, I don't know.
Will people boo? Okay.
Spartan next. Give me the reasons why the Spartans will beat Washington by 2 scores Saturday night, and why are you limiting us to 2 thoughtful questions?
Because Twitter questions aren't the whole show today, and Jason, at a certain point, it loses his voice. That's why. Anytime Twitter questions aren't the full show, we try to keep it.
Yeah, but I didn't say thoughtful. I just keep it to 2.
Right. Thoughtful is
sorry.
your own. Yeah, thoughtful is the takes. We prefer that on when it's a delicate subject. You can go back to hot takes on Sunday. The reasons why the Spartans could win by 2 scores. It would be turnovers, and it would be
Penix gets hurt
or Michigan State, because we just don't know a ton about how good MSU is because of the competition they played yet. They could wind up being really good. Like Noah Kim in that passing game could wind up being excellent, and we just don't know it for sure yet because they haven't played anybody. But if they wind up being excellent against Washington, it's like, oh, holy crap. And then you get a turnover late and something like that happens. Barring an injury to Michael Penix, winning by 2 scores seems like a lot. But if it's a shootout, you get a turnover here and there, who knows?
Corey Ostrom next. Coach Barnett spoke of discussing changes with Coach D'Antonio. I would assume there would be no change with the offense, but can you see some defensive wrinkles that reflect the defenses ran by Barnett and D'Antonio in the past? More press man, more blitzing between the 20s?
To some degree, I think you might see some wrinkles as the season goes along. I think D'Antonio will be careful about where he inserts himself. Barnett might have more of a say. Obviously, will. He's the acting head coach. I think you also, though, you understand that this is Scotty Hazelton's defense. And if you're an acting head coach and you're trying to keep good vibes and keep the staff motivated, these guys know they may lose their jobs now. They may have to move. Their families may have to move. It sucks. Their kids might have to move and change schools and all that stuff. There's a lot of distractions going on. Scotty Hazelton's defense has been pretty good for a couple weeks. I don't think you want to, and you've been part of the game plans with them for a while. You may have some opinions and, hey, let's do a little more of this or a little more of this. But I would think this week especially, you kind of go with what your role was in terms of inserting yourself in the defense and what – I'm saying inserting myself in things a lot tonight. That's a good choice. I don't know. It's fucked up. Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
Aaron Voss next. How concerned are you about MSU's run game, especially against Washington?
Yeah, it could be a problem. There's no doubt that is. I think Nathan Carter's legit. He's averaging 6.1 yards a carry, even though they haven't played anyone. But the lack of push and tough yardage, it's a hard way to drive the field if you're not getting the key short yardage things. If you can't count on 2 yards when you need it, if you can't get 4 yards more often than not on first down, it's just a hard way to live. And Michigan State has shown reasons to be concerned in the first 2 weeks.
Steve Don next. How many top recruits in the current recruiting class stay and commit?
No idea. And, it's hard to imagine many of them, if they're going to change coaches, stay and commit without knowing the new coach and without talking to him. There may be those who would like to be there, but nobody's going to be firm in their commitment until they know who the head coach is going to be moving forward. And nor should they be, unless they really love Michigan State. It was always the dream to play there. If you want to know who you're playing for. That there's just no reason, and there's no reason to do it early.
D'Antonio loyalist next. With Tuck gone, do any non-game day red flags or weird things about Tuck stand out that you can share?
Not that I can share.
Oh. Next one from D'Antonio, loyalist. We are a top 25 for what is it? Revenue.
Sorry. Yep.
Revenue, public school ranking, attendance, etc. Despite the current situation, I think we can hire a premier coach. What say you?
Yeah, it's a great job. It's not the best job, but it may be the best job available this coming season, and it's going to be a top. It's a top half of the Big Ten job. It's a, it's a place that has the resources, a place that's a huge campus that, it has the passion for football. It's got a lot of things going for it at Michigan State, and it's definitely a have. There just aren't going to be many jobs available better, and it's not a total rebuild. Like the rebuild had started. You may lose some kids, but you're not going to lose all of them. I mean, think the Noah Kim might wind up being one of the more important players in MSU football because you might lose the 2 quarterbacks under him, depending on who gets hired and what the kids want to do. Who knows? But Noah Kim's got 2 full years of eligibility left after this. How important is that now? I mean, Nathan Carter, I think he just got engaged to his girlfriend on campus who's at Michigan State. He's already transferred. He's going to be there. Like, there are guys who are going to be there, and there are a lot of guys who will stay either way. But the build it started. You might lose some. That's part of the changeover, especially in this day and age. The deal now where they don't have to sit out is going to make things really interesting. And the bigger deal is going to be all these guys are going to have 30 days to get in the portal, and they can keep playing while they're in the portal. Once Mel Tucker is fired, that is going to be fascinating because then they're going to be able to make a choice, even the guys who transferred once.
Jarrett, next. Was this the best week for your views on your articles ever?
No, but it was good because there was a week in the pandemic where I wrote a couple things that really took off. But the column I wrote Sunday, I don't want to give too much of our insight, but did 250,000 page views or something like that.
Wow.
And it really depends. We do different things. Like some things are subscriber only, and it's a hard paywall right away. I think the Harlan Barnett piece wound up being that. Sometimes it's not. I don't have complete control over that all the time. So that impacts how many people see something. But it was definitely a week.
People still read newspapers.
Oh,
You guys just need a scandal every couple weeks.
Right.
Jarrett, what's the MSU game plan to beat Washington?
It's interesting talking to Dylan Tatum before the whole thing went down, after last week's game, before the Mel Tucker news. One of the things he brought up that people aren't going to love was the idea of bend but don't break. It was you got to tackle well, you got to keep these guys in front of you, bend but don't break. And I think people don't want to hear that.
No.
But when you're playing Washington and the guy's thrown for 859 yards or whatever in the first 2 weeks, bend but don't break ain't the worst idea because ultimately you got to score more points than the other team. And, you're going to have to score.
Wait, you do?
Yeah, that's one of the things you got to do in football. Anyway, if you're Michigan State, if you have if you make them work to drive the field rather than beat you with explosive plays, if you force a couple turnovers after they drive half the field, or you force them off the field after 3 drives or 3 first downs, that's okay. If they settle for field goals, that's okay. That's giving your offense a chance. And I think they're very aware of. Look, they were embarrassed last year out there. They were angry. I think they'll be fired up. I think they've got to get pressure. I think that's a big part of it. You got to get pressure on Michael Penix to some degree. He cannot just pick you apart. His weapons are too good. I mean, Jeremy Bernard, who is a really talented kid who left Michigan State for Washington, it's like the 4th receiver there, and they use him a couple different ways. They are loaded on offense. You got to make him uncomfortable.
And don't break though. Good thing I just got some more weed. Had to re-up. It's gonna be a long one. In Kim We Trust next. Any chance Harlan coaches next season? I could see a scenario where MSU's money is tied up until the Tucker contract is litigated, and Harlan would be a discount hire.
There's no chance he coaches just next season. You don't up him for 1 year. You can't recruit to that. You're either committing to him with like a 4-year contract, 5-year contract, or you're moving on. Now there are ways to do it so that you how you structure the buyout is however you structure you can do it so, hey, they can get rid of you after whatever the language is in there, easier, 3 years, and it's not that big a buyout. You can do things to make sure that you're protected a little more than they were with Mel freaking Tucker with the 10 years guaranteed deal. But you've got to commit to him, and you've got to be all in. And if you're not going to be all in, then do the right thing and move on. And I think it'll be fairly obvious at the time when they need to make that decision.
In Kim We Trust, is gotcha journalism ruining industry credibility? Too many sensationalized headlines, not enough research.
Yeah, there are headlines that piss me off all the time. My company and others, and don't love it. It doesn't help. It doesn't help. I don't know if it's all gotcha journalism, though. I mean, there is some stuff that's really important journalism and really good journalism. The initial story by Kenny Jacoby was really good journalism.
I mean, speaking of, Gannett's going to hire a Taylor Swift and a Beyonce reporter.
And so they took a lot of shit for that. And don't get me wrong, I get frustrated by the fact that we're understaffed at the LSJ and they're doing that, right? Everybody, it's the natural reaction.
It's Taylor Swift.
But I'll say this. A lot of look, you know how many people are going to read a Taylor Swift article, that coverage? And if lots of people subscribe and read because of that, that job pays for other jobs. As long as that money is put back in the book, there's an argument that makes some sense. Now, the problem is
But do teens read?
Well, I mean, there's some video.
Well, I mean, are they going to go to the Ellis? I don't know. Like
teens don't not read. They'd read about Taylor Swift.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
pay for it. Rich Searing next. Tucker says this isn't a Title IX thing, but a private thing. Is he right? How does that work?
No, he's not right. It is what it is. It's not technically Title IX, but it falls under the Title IX purview. So it is Title IX. It is, yes. I mean, it is a little complex, but it is not a private thing. That is not correct, from what I understand.
Rich, with this one, how worried should we be about players leaving, recruits decommitting, and from Big Cat, who is the first recruit to decommit?
I have no idea. But yeah, that's going to be a concern, and it's going to happen. The better the season can go, the more guys are going to stick around. But there's no doubt that there are a couple key points to watch. After the Maryland game, that's 4 games into the season. So anybody who's played 4 games, if they're not sold on this coaching staff, sold on Michigan State, and they want to keep that year of eligibility, and they didn't redshirt or anything, they can shut it down and then keep the eligibility. That'll be something to watch. Whenever Mel Tucker is fired, all of a sudden you wind up with 30 days, everybody, the transfer portal is open to. And so the thing is, if you haven't transferred yet and you're a Michigan State player, there's no need to get in the portal then, because the portal will be open to you at the end of the season. For the guys, though, who might want to transfer, who've transferred once before, that will be their opportunity. And so you'd see them, that would be the time to be in the portal. But yeah, absolutely. This is unstabilizing for sure.
Shep, next. Did Tucker commit the single most expensive masturbatory, beat off, act in recorded human history, estimating the net cost to be about $70 million?
It's got to be up there. There's no doubt.
An expensive load. No. Chris Eastlick, is Courtney Hawkins a must-keep coach for whoever the next coach is? Anyone else on staff? I'd say Kapilovic.
I certainly think very highly of Courtney Hawkins. Every coach may have their own dudes, and Hawkins may want to move on, although he's a Michigan State guy. I can see where that would be a sensible thing if they decide to move on from the staff and bring in somebody else. He'll look at those guys. And one of the things about a guy like Harlan Barnett is I do think, even though Harlan Barnett makes some sense as a guy who's a Michigan State lifer, it is hard to be the acting head coach and then move into a different role. I don't think if Harlan Barnett is not, I would doubt if he doesn't wind up getting the job that he sticks around. I don't know if there's a must keep. Hawkins is about as much as there might be one. But the next coach will have his guys, his people, and will have his own ideas.
Next one from Chris. Should MSU hire an established coach that may not be as flashy or take a swing for the fences on a young, energetic hire that understands 2023 college football?
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to get an established Power 5 coach, they better be damn established and damn good. Like otherwise, I think it's okay to swinging for the fences. Like puts a level of risk involved there. You go get the best coach you think when you go through the interview process, the one who jumps at you, and you don't second guess it. And you got to let the interview do the work, and they will have some time to do that. Not a lot of time, but they'll have a little bit of time different than. And you'll be competing with other places because these coaches that you might want, or are going to be sitting head coaches, aren't going to be available till Thanksgiving weekend, and then there's a lot of moves really quick. But in the span of a week or so, you're going to have to really make some decisions and bring in and maybe talk to 3-4 guys and figure out what you want.
Peasy next. Some over-unders. 3.5 tweets or emails to Graham complaining about not being able to find the broadcast. Way over. 1.5 Washington turnovers. 2.5 MSU touchdowns, and 37.5 Spencer Torkelson home runs in 2024.
Yeah, it'll be interesting on the Peacock thing. Emails is the way it'll come in too. I might get a letter from like an older person that arrives in like mid-October. Like, I couldn't find the broadcast. Can you write back?
AOL.com.
Yeah. That's my mother has an AOL address. Of course she does.
Seriously.
Turnovers. Washington. MSU could really use Washington to be over that 1.5 number.
Wait, is your mom still paying for AOL though?
No, it's free now. I think like their service is free. She wouldn't be, or she is, and she doesn't know it.
Wait, so she uses their internet or just their
email? AOL, just their email.
Oh,
because she had it like in 1996, so it's always been her email address, and so she just kept it. you can still. I mean, I technically think I probably still have an AOL email. I just haven't logged in 20 years.
CC next. Could you guys bring on Mad Dog DeMarco to get his thoughts on Tucker and MSU football? Thanks. Well, CC, you're in luck.
Can somebody tell me why these prominent coaches and celebrities still continue to do this stupid crap that they do? Can somebody explain that to me that has 3 parts to the brain? Because obviously the individual that I'm pointing in the direction of north from where I live doesn't have 3 parts to the brain. Losing that kind of coin for that kind of foolishness and bad stuff is awful. And you know what? You're supposed to be a mentor and a leader. I can't see it. I don't know where this is going to play out, but just an awful, awful situation. I'm David the Mad Dog DeMarco, Cedar Bluff, Alabama.
There you go.
I love that he tells where he's at
I
the
know,
end.
it's
Cedar
my
Bluff,
favorite,
Alabama.
It's my favorite part of those things.
Yeah.
And he sends them to us, and I'm just like, Mad Dog, why don't you just do like a 20-minute podcast or something?
Yeah.
Anyway,
No,
CC, there you go, man. Fart Soup next. In all of the vast ways Graham might have to cancel weekend plans with Mrs. Couch, did Mel Tucker's mule ever show up on the list?
It had not. It did not show up on the list. It. Yeah, no, I didn't. I didn't think we had anything planned. I don't even. Oh, she was out of town most of the weekend, so yeah, she missed. She was like on a lake with friends at a house in Dowagiac, and I'm up all night writing about Mel Tucker and his misdeeds.
Misdeeds. Fart Soup. What's the worst way to introduce your significant other to someone they've never met? Last week, we had the privilege of meeting Graham, and I introduced my wife as Mrs. Fart Soup.
She clearly didn't like that, by the way. Yeah, it was very clear. Great woman. Enjoyed the conversation. We chatted for a while, but yeah, I would retire Mrs. Fart Soup is a line. It just doesn't seem like it's going to get you anywhere.
Brian McDonald next. If this saga were a Lifetime movie called Naked Bootleg, would this whole thing be a scheme cooked up by Mel and Brenda so they both get paid and end up on a tropical island where Mel never has to drive 17-year-olds around in a funny car and take pictures with dogs?
I mean, you can see a storyline where that's written, but I just don't think this is a scheme cooked by the two of them. If it was, it would be the...
that would be so great.
Well, but there's potentially no pot of money at the end, and for either of them. And the other thing for Brenda Tracy, like, this is not going to help her career. Like, and she knows that, and I think that leads to her credibility. It's not like more programs are going to say, you know what, let's bring her in because of this. This is not something that helps her in any way, I don't think. And she's not suing anybody, so it's not like there's just no financial gain from it either.
And she didn't record the phone calls, right? I mean,
no.
As far as we know. You would think if someone wanted money, they would do that. G.E. Miller, how does live sports on the Peacock TV app work? If I start an hour or two late, can I fully rewind to the beginning? And can I skip ads if I do? Those are my typical YouTube TV DVR habits.
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know if you skip ads or not. You can start from the beginning. And I'm trying to think, because I do that with – the problem is when I do it, it's with soccer, and there are no commercials in the first, whole first half. So I'm not sure how that works. But you can start from the beginning on it. It's a pretty useful – I think it's a pretty good app. It's been great for soccer. It's great for other things. But I do need to figure out some of that because – you can't record like a DVR. It's different there. So you go back and watch the replay on it, and I'm not sure how long that lasts.
Mr. Neurotic, is MSU still going to handle Rutgers and Nebraska?
Yeah, I mean, I think they should be better than those two teams. Nebraska is the dumbest, hardest, most frustrating team to watch I've seen in a long time. They ought to beat them at home. Now, the one caveat to that is by November 4th, I think that's when that game is, it's hard to know where Michigan State football season will be. But Nebraska has a quarterback who turns it over like the over-under would be like 8.5 fumbles a game.
Mr. Neurotic, will MSU's defense pull it together to at least compete with the Buckeyes and those shits down the road?
Those games are a ways off. We just don't know. They haven't been tested. There's some promising moments. There's no red flags on the defense yet, I would say. Some people think they haven't tackled as well. I think they've been pretty decent tackling in space. I think they're fine there so far. We'll learn a lot this week.
Ghost of George Perlis. When do you expect the jet sweep, and how many times will we see it?
It would be hilarious first play. Just
total yuck it up, Chuckles.
I'm sorry. Yeah, no.
Not down to laugh anymore.
It is Jay Johnson's offense, and I don't think you'll see it. Nothing will change there.
Quarterback sneak him? Maybe. Ghost of George Perlis next. When we have a successful trick play like Little Giants, what will it be called? What do you think of pressed ham? And describe the situation and outcome.
Yeah, I don't think they go with pressed ham, but
is that like a butt fumble Rooski?
Yeah. I mean, you can, yeah.
No, you were thinking about ham, weren't you?
Actual ham.
Yeah.
More donuts, though.
Mr. Benjen. Couch has said many times that 2024 and 25 is when we could expect a true contending team. When now? The 2030, 2031 season? And from Bob tweets, if things don't absolutely fall apart and MSU can make the right hire, is 2025 still a realistic goal for winning the Big Ten?
Yeah, again, this is the thread they have to needle, the needle they have to thread. It's a good question. How many guys they keep, who they get, what they're able to build into, how many of those. I think what's important is how many of those guys in the 2022 and 23 recruiting classes, and then what their 24 recruiting class is, how many of those guys, 21 and year, what year? What the fuck year are we? 24.
2027.
So the 2024 kids are coming in. So how many, what these next, if the recruiting classes because this is what we talked about with Mel Tucker, that last year, this year, and this next recruiting class were like 3 recruiting classes that we're going to determine his tenure. And so if those all wind up being good recruiting classes still, if you keep most of those kids intact, if you're able to bring in a good class, then maybe you're still on that trek. And it's a fair question. I don't know. 2025. So then you start to say, is 2025 a realistic goal for winning the Big Ten? Yeah, I think goal versus expectation for when they're going to be a contender changes a little bit. And but just so much has to happen. I mean, think about this. When we were doing the show last week at this time, Mel Tucker was the coach, and now he's not. And so now we have to see what's going to happen with, an interim staff. Will they be the guys? There's just so much that has to play out, beginning with their first on-field test of the week or test of the year this Saturday.
Bob tweets with this one. What are your odds on the Big Four teams in Detroit all making the playoffs in their 2024 seasons? I'm thinking close to even money.
So wait, Pistons, Lions, Tigers, Red Wings all make the playoffs, even money? I would take the bet the other way.
Yeah.
There's no
value.
Yeah. Well, in 2024, so that's next. So yeah,
and the Red Wings.
So we're saying not the
Tigers. Yeah. Maybe.
So in the order, I would say Lions, then Tigers. The Pistons just seem like they're not quite there yet. So I would take and based on who else is in the Eastern Conference, I would.
Yeah, but everybody gets in now or whatever, right? The Pistons.
Not everybody.
Football is back next. What makes you say MSU is a top half of the Big Ten program? The way I see it, we're going to be broke once this thing gets settled. We don't have money to pay a good coach.
They'll find money to do it. This is where the resources of the media rights deal make a difference. You may have to hold if you had to pay. We'll see if what they have to pay Tucker. Maybe you have to hold off on that volleyball practice facility or whatever. But like they will have money to a football program is too important. That's not where you cut. That's not where you save.
Next,
and what makes them top half of the Big Ten? They're one of the halves. They're one of the 23 to 25 schools in the country that turn a profit on their athletic department. It's resources, it's tradition, it's all that. They're a top half of the Big Ten program. You can go through the Big Ten. In football, they're bigger than Purdue, Indiana, Northwestern, Maryland. I'm not going to go through them all, but you know what I mean. Like they're in line. They're very much an Iowa or a Wisconsin. They're that just barely in the upper half of the Big Ten deal.
Next one from football is back. Is it okay to eat donut holes with a fork? It feels unnatural. Wanted to get your professional opinion.
I don't see why it's.
How about a toothpick?
I mean, either one. I mean,
your hand.
Right. Yeah, no.
Like, why are you? I mean, are you in like a professional setting where you need to not grab one?
When Elizabeth and I get a box of Groovy Donuts, which we do fairly regularly.
Oh my God!
And it's like 6 of them of different assortments. You know, you got your red velvet there. Anyway, we cut them with a knife and a fork, and then we eat little bits, because that way I can have all 6 with only really eating the equivalent of 1, which is a really healthy way to do it. It's a great way, I recommend.
You think your wife doesn't get that, though? Like,
no, she does the same thing. That's how we eat one donut, by sampling all 6.
Are you guys co-presenting a donut?
Yeah, that's how we do it. You can do that too, or you can just eat a donut like a normal human being. Go to groovydonuts.com, place your order today, or just swing on by. They would love to see you. The selection is outstanding. You'll love the choices. Have 1, have 6. I once had 10 in 9 minutes or whatever it was, and it was the first 6 were the best experience of my life. The last 4 were really tough. But groovydonuts.com, 2 locations on Lake Lansing Road in East Lansing and also in Williamston. They're open 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. Thursday through Sunday. Perfect for your tailgating needs.
A lock in 1973 next. Has Mel Tucker reached out to you to share his side of the story?
He is not. And
that'd be great if he did.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind. I mean, I would write a column off that. It wouldn't be one side. I'm not going to just sit there and parrot what he says and regurgitate and yay Mel Tucker.
Green wall.
We've all been wrong here. That's not going to happen. But I would do an interview with him, and if he wanted to do that column, I would do it. I really doubt it would not be good for him in this deal, this battle he's in, the hearing that's coming up in the Title IX case.
It can't be his worst decision.
Well, it would. That's a good point.
Yeah. Lock in next. When will the program speak to the status of the other coaches and if they are staying?
I mean, you won't know, because that'll all depend on what happens with this staff and the amount of winning they do and whether it looks like they are the right coaches for the future of the program. That'll be made with the current coach, the head coach now. If they have if they want to be at Michigan State, they have a vested interest in making this work for Harlan Barnett too, because if it doesn't work for him, they'll go outside the program, and which is still more likely than not, certainly, and they'll be on the move, or they'll be interviewing with a new coach.
DMB next. Couch, does the LSJ make you go on the Huge Show? What's his beef with Mark D'Antonio? I just listened to a Tim Stout interview on the Huge Show and thought about walking into oncoming traffic.
The LSJ does not make me go on the Huge Show.
That's the new name of Stout Show, walking into oncoming traffic.
I like. Yeah, no,
with ads.
No, Bill Simonson asked me to come on, and I don't mind coming. I'll go on unless
the Huge Show.
Unless you're a real jackass to people or a jackass to me or whatever, I will more often than not do your show. And he's been good to me. He's been good to Couch in the Rube. He promotes it regularly, and so I have no problem doing his show.
Gator next. Couch's Blue Wall boys are still retweeting and commenting, writing about MSU. Crickets from the Blue Wall about Dr. Anderson or player raps AD's car around pole. U of M coaches being arrested, Mozzie's artillery, etc. Keep sticking up for scum, Couch. Love you guys.
Yeah, I mean, those are stories that aren't taking place right now, though. I don't know.
Welcome to the Blue Wall.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Does it feel like a siege? Yes. Again, I would advise muting things on Twitter and just going to the outlets that you trust or prefer, and then it won't seem so bad. Because the thing is, if you're the columnist at the Detroit Free Press or Detroit News, you have to write about this. Just because the other place is also writing about it, and it seems like a lot, these are competing entities, and some people only go to those places. It's only in the social media world that this, I think, feels like too much.
Cinemod next. What is our season expectation for wins total now? Do we even have one?
Certainly, yeah, things are much more, but I think it's the same. It's the same team. It's largely the same coaching staff. There will be a test of not just resolve, but focus, I really think. Like, at some point, it won't be this week, but at some point, one of the hardest things to do is keep 19 to 22-year-olds focused every week. It's why often when two teams are you get upsets, or two teams are similar and there's a blowout, and it's because one team is really dialed in and the other isn't, and there are going to be distractions for this team, and how they manage it. I mean, a big part of whether Alan Haller deserves a look at the end of this year, not Alan Haller, Harlan Barnett, will be whether he's able to manage that well, navigate it, get them to be better in October and November than they were in September, keep growing into the season. Like, all that stuff matters. It's a hard job. He's, a guy who's waited for his opportunity forever. He gets 10 games. Is it 100% fair? No, but a lot of guys never get that chance anyway. It's still a great opportunity. And, he's just got to make the most of it or he won't be back.
David Quest next. Do we think Thunderstruck will be played for the intro? Would be electric. Also, if Windman is out, do we think Hall starts in his place?
I think Hall would, I don't know if he'd start, but he'd certainly play a lot. I don't know what Windman's status is. I do think with injuries, however, that Harlan Barnett eventually will accidentally give some out because he was an assistant under D'Antonio. I had many conversations where he'd accidentally give away a guy being out. And
he said fix that in post?
Yeah, there were other coaches who were even worse at it. But Dave Warner used to say it all the time. And there were other, Dan Rochar used to give it away. Sometimes the assistants didn't think it was such a big deal. They're not as paranoid as the head coach. To the Thunderstruck, I have no idea.
Couch on Fire, what's your gut feeling on hiring a new coach? Do they stay internal, the staff, or go national?
Way too early to know, and it'll all be dependent on what happens over the next, I would say, 8 weeks, really. And to the previous question, too, one cool tradition they did bring back is the Spartan Walk is no longer just from Sparty on. They're doing it all the way from the Kellogg Center to the stadium, so it's a longer walk. More fans can see the players. That was a D'Antonio thing that Mel Tucker had changed, and they're going right back to that.
Couch on Fire next. Over-under for yards by Kenneth Walker this week. And isn't it so Lions that the Rams crushed Seattle in the opener after losing that key game 17 last season?
Yeah, it's kind of bullshit in a lot of ways, yeah.
In my 47 years, I've never...
Over-under for Kenneth Walker. I haven't seen a line. I haven't, the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app may have it. It's at some point for the player props. I would urge looking there, downloading that app. But what would you put the over-under at? Maybe 61, something like that?
Yeah, 65
around there. Yeah, I would. Yeah,
Spartan Mark next. Have you heard any grumbling from Jay Johnson and or Scotty Hazelton about being passed over for the interim head coaching gig? Curious how that could impact the coaching chemistry.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't heard anything from them directly. I'm sure they aren't thrilled in some way. I mean, you look, Kapilovic was the assistant head coach too. He may be a guy who thought he should get a look, and I'm sure there was some of that hope. But Harlan Barnett is somebody that I, without question, is trusted by Alan Haller and going back 35 years. So, yeah, it could. I think that's part of what Harlan Barnett's got to manage. And these coaches have to be professionals, even if they're a little hurt by it.
Mojo Jojo next. Will A, the university, and B, the football program, ever recover from this string of scandals and mismanagement, including the dean of the business school? Or have they lost a significant portion of the alums and donors? I know it's changed permanently for me.
I don't think they've, I think there's some people who are frustrated. That's interesting you say it's changed permanently. I mean, I don't think, I think the school can recover. This is frustrating for a lot of people. I know that because people finally felt like they had emerged from the sort of the wake of the Nassar scandal years. And this is very different than that, obviously. This is not at all in the realm. I mean, let's not even go there. But what I mean is in terms of how the school is perceived. And this comes up and it's frustrating and it's dispiriting and all that stuff. But there's also a lot of evidence that the school has handled it decently to this point. And I trust a guy like Matt Mancarini, who covered those eras when some other Title IX cases that weren't covered as well, and his early assessment on that. Now, we'll see where it all plays out. But there's been a lot of hammering the school, I think, prematurely, and some people with axes to grind going after school. I'm not saying this isn't a shit situation. But I do think as long as, and they may have not won the press conference the other day, but if they can win the day in terms of how they handled things, and that's what history will show, I think they'll be okay. The next hire is really important. It's going to have to be somebody people like, who connects with donors, who's just a good person, and also a hell of a football coach.
Mojo, went to an LSU football game last weekend for my bachelor party and was blown away by the time, energy, and money dedicated to a home game. Will the rest of the country ever compete, or will college football gradually shift to an SEC South-only endeavor plus Ohio?
No, but it is, when they say it's just, what is it? It's just different. What's the line? It just means more or whatever.
Thread a needle?
Yeah, fuck. They're not kidding. And look,
step on a crack, break your mama's back.
If I lived somewhere where it felt like a swamp 9 months out of the year and you could, barely breathe without air conditioning and freaking hurricanes came over and blew your house away, you couldn't even get insured. Sorry, I love Michigan, so I'm going to always stick up for Michigan. So they can have fucking college football. We'll have the rest of life up here. But I don't know, with the rest there are things that are always going to be advantages down there. But kids are also, to some degree, like Rakeon Coleman, being South mattered. He was from there. The recruiting, Ohio kids, Illinois kids, Indiana kids, Michigan kids, those are kids who want to be up here largely, too. This is where they're from.
Bo McJunkin's next. Why are none of the journalists making sure the Title IX confidentiality piece is at the forefront of their pieces? Instead, we deal with salacious headlines and reporter faux outrage. They get their clicks, then bury it in the story 8 hours later to say, see, it was there.
Yeah, not every piece is a great piece of journalism. And that's true. And if you write something and something really changes and you've got the same headline and you update it, you should note that update at the top. And not everybody does that.
Tony and the Ducks, what changes do you believe Barnett will make immediately to the program?
Little things, but not all. I mean, look, we'll find out, I guess. We'll find out if there are changes in, like, player availability, if there are changes in the day he does his press conference, the Spartan Walk's already there, if there are changes in other things he does. I would imagine, though, the more instability you create right now, the less likely you are to win. You have built this offseason to this point by doing things a certain way, and you're 2-0. Like, there might be a few tweaks. You're like, I really would prefer this, or I would like to do this, or this is a whatever. But I don't think we'll see much.
Tony and the Ducks next. I tried watching clips of Valenti and Rico's show. How do people listen to Valenti? His head kept getting bigger and bigger with each sentence. At least Graham's ego comes from being a donut-eating champion.
That's right. Nobody's eating more groovy donuts than me.
Well, Valenti made a mistake when he hired Rico. I mean, the show went downhill from there. Am I right?
Yeah. No.
I love Valenti. I think he's great.
He's very talented at what he does. There's a reason.
Anybody that makes $1 million in sports radio is a legend to me.
And a lot of people, if you don't like him, that's fine. But enough people do that they pay him a ton of money.
He's the only reason why 97.1 is still exists.
Yeah. No,
it's not a Pat Caputo like you think. David Cox next. I always had concerns about Mel's acumen strategy. The latest incident turning down a third down stop to accept a holding penalty. Unreal. This latest story with the troll only confirms it. Did Mel ever show any signs of a lack of intelligence outside of football? I am angry.
No, the judgment here is incredibly bad. And, look, you want to feel bad for a guy in some ways that he misread a situation, a lonely guy, bad marriage, made a bad call, whatever. But
who feels bad?
But you're making a ton of money. You're leading a football program. You're an example for young men. This is no matter what the situation is with your marriage, understand that this is not the right move, and there's a chance for great embarrassment. And he got caught doing it, and now there's just no coming back for him. I mean, they've removed his picture. They've covered it up in the hallways near the media center. Like, he's just not part of the program right now, and they're not. This isn't something where 4 weeks from now they're like, Mel Tucker's back. He's not coming back.
Some dude next. How intimidating is a stadium with 2/3 of the fans screaming at you in blue ski masks?
Where is that? Is that the thing they do at Michigan? Or
no, Brian Branch. Someone on the Lions secondary wants Lions fans to wear a blue ski mask this Sunday.
Unless the air conditioning's way up, that's really uncomfortable. A lot of skin breakouts.
It's not about that, Graham. It's about scaring Seattle.
I don't know that I'd be scared. I don't know I'd be scared. A lot of sweaty fans, a lot of BO, and because like if not everybody showered and everybody wears a ski mask, the place is gonna fucking reek.
What about if there was a trough and you're just sitting around a trough with a bunch of dudes wearing ski masks?
The trough makes everything better.
Some dude. If Tuck was the only one to go public, would Graham be the guy he confides in? How sweet would that be, Graham?
I doubt it. I mean, he and I, had a decent relationship. We weren't close or anything, but he was. We did, several one-on-ones throughout his career. He was always open to that. We had a couple moments that weren't, weren't our best. But I had no issue with Mel Tucker in my dealings with him.
Mel, you got to pick one of these guys to talk to.
Yeah, no, but if he wanted a fair, good interview, I would
give me Graham Coach.
I would be the one. I would love to be the one to do it, but
I'm not talk to him on the phone.
I'm not going to. Oh, Jesus!
What, too soon?
Yeah.
Oh, Tucker Tarleson next. Will Mel coach a game of football again in his life? If yes, could it possibly be at the college level? Not saying I want him to. Just curious how Title IX violations affect that stuff.
Yeah, I think he's dug himself a bigger hole with the statements and kind of the pushbacks and sort of the lack of.
But he
sort
didn't
of
really commit a crime. I mean, does he need to be banned forever?
No, he doesn't have to be banned forever. No, he does not.
I would say the guy's going to go through a lot of embarrassment and a lot of money gone.
He is.
Right.
And I would, and anywhere at any level or any position coach, he could absolutely emerge at some point.
Call Saban.
Without question. Another reclamation project on Saban's staff. It's a good question. We'll see where this all lands. Let's say that. I think in a month that will be more clear.
Woke Couch next. Who will look the worst after all is said and done? Tucker, Tracy, MSU, bazooka to the head.
Bazooka time.
Mel Tucker, without question.
All right.
When all is said and done.
All right. Ken Chu, who should we believe?
Well, that's, there are things in Mel Tucker's statements that and in the story by Kenny Jacoby where he contradicts himself. So there's that. That does not help him. I say this, though. Brenda Tracy had a statement that she had to clarify that I was annoyed by because her initial statement made it sound like she never planned to go public at all, which wasn't true. She had been working with USA Today since late June, and that's now been reported to get that out there, which I think is helpful, and that bothered me. So you believe who you want to believe. I think ultimately, though, when all is said and done, people will understand why this was the right move for Michigan State.
Sports Guy 1919. How can you be labeled a sexual predator for unwanted phone sex?
Sexual predator is too strong a word. That sounds like stuff with a.
It's just dumb.
What's Dateline? What is that? What is that show where they show up to catch a predator? Yeah, not that. By the way, going back to like 2014-15, Gannett was going through this whole period of time where they were, calling new beats in newsrooms, all sorts of weird shit. Like you didn't have editors, you had coaches, you had all this stuff. Anyway, everything was changing, right? So, but the Nashville Predators had an opening for a beat writer, and so it said, Predators beat. And my wife thought, holy shit, that's what they're calling the crime reporter now. You catch the Predators beat to catch a predator, and it was not that. Sorry, a story almost not worth telling. Presented by Midtown Brewing Company. I just have no confidence in telling my stories.
You shouldn't in that one. That was, yeah. Sports Guy 1919. Why do accusations always come out many months or years after incidents take place?
Well, this wasn't. I guess this was some months.
But it's a fair question. Like, why does this take so long?
Right.
Like, what do we need? What are we waiting for?
Well, I think for some people, they're deciding whether they really want to come forward. But you're right. So,
but it takes 6 months to get a whole investigation going.
But this is about when she actually reported it. It was April through to the next December, and I understand that frustration. That makes people a little more suspect. I think in a lot of cases that are more serious than this one, people really struggle with trauma and struggle with the ramifications coming forward, and it takes them a while to get to a place sometime.
Jeff from Arizona next. So we can assume now that there has always been a hidden meaning to the phrase "tuck coming." Not wrong. Dark Antonio heard an interview from back in February of this year where Izzo quoted Bo Schembechler. Should he have done that, and how should Spartan fans feel seen as how they feel about Bo, especially since the Anderson stuff?
Izzo doesn't have a great we talked about this with Miles Bridges. It's just, Izzo's Izzo. He doesn't pay. I mean, he just, he lives in his own world. He doesn't have a great sense.
Anything by it.
He does not. He does not have a great sense about these things, but he does not mean anything by it. Correct.
Grab. It is clear now Tracy is lying. She carefully documented events but deleted text messages. This is at least the 9th person she personally has accused of assault, and most were sexual assaults. Did anyone check into her past, especially regarding Oregon State?
I don't know that to be true. I think, look, let's let's see where this goes. There are a lot of good people working on different elements of this story, and again, I would refute what you're saying here. I think there are rumors from people who seem to really dislike her, and I don't know everything about her credibility, but to say ninth person she's accused of assault seems. Again, I'm not challenging you. Maybe there's documented cases of all that, but probably should not have included this question because I don't really know how to answer it right now carefully. And
you did it.
I did it well. Thank you.
Hans Jurgen. If Tucker can prove his relationship with Tracy was consensual, do you think he could keep his job? What if he proved blackmail? What if he cured cancer?
If he cured cancer, people would be pretty happy with him again. He can have the coaching job back. No,
quite the turn in this story.
He will not be able to keep his job, even if there becomes evidence is shown or the determination is it was consensual.
Hans Jurgen, is there any better material for sports talk than a coaching change? Who is hated more in our society, looters or coaches?
Well, looters would be. Yeah, looters.
I'd say looters a lot. Yeah. I think that would be like 90-10 looters.
Coaching change are great sports talk material. You usually don't get it in season. What's made this week, this week we were going to have fun on this show with Peacock and with the 2013 Rose Bowl team, with alcohol sales at Spartan Stadium and the Washington game. We had enough.
Peacock.
In July, in April, coaching changes are interesting. But this is right now. But yeah, no, it certainly leads to fodder.
Next one from Hans. Who is your next MSU coaching choice?
For me, and I mean this, I think it's only fair to truly let Harlan Barnett have his chance. They put him in place. He's dreamed of this. I like the guy personally a lot. Doesn't mean I'll like him as the next head football coach from Michigan State or think he should be the guy, but he deserves that shot, and I'm going to evaluate it in real time as I watch it unfold, and not make that determination until I've seen it.
Upper Deck Jerk Guy next. What road game did you and Big Sexy have the planes, trains, and automobiles moment?
Yeah, I'm trying to. If there was a moment where Matt Charboneau is Big Sexy, by the way. If we ever had a moment where we were in the same tight bed quarters or anything like that, or there are a lot. What's the trains, planes, and automobiles moment? There's a lot of moments in that where he found out I was homeless at the end, invited me over for Thanksgiving dinner. Matt and I've had a lot of good times, and I as we said earlier when we had him on, it is I don't know if there's anybody I'll miss more. Joe was a big loss when he left. But Matt, just sort of the vibe he creates and the disarming nature of his personality is going to be missed.
Upper Deck Jerk Guy, have you ever watched the video playback of any of the pods? Jason pays almost no attention to what you're saying.
I don't blame him. My wife doesn't. My mom doesn't. I was talking to my mom today.
Graham also doesn't listen to what I say a lot, too. It happens.
That's fair.
These shows are 2.5 hours long.
I was talking to my mom today on a walk. And all of a sudden she starts pointing to the grass and then pointing to kids. I'm in the middle of a story. I don't have any confidence in my stories. Nobody listens to my fucking stories. That's just the way it is.
I know. Teresa's been doing that to me lately, too. And I'm like, is this like a married thing now? Or?
It doesn't help. It doesn't help. You only get worse at this stuff. We appreciate Groovy Donuts. Go to groovydonuts.com. Place your order today. Swing by either location in the East Lansing or in Williamston from 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. Thursday through Sunday. Thanks to Front 43 and Cask & Company. If you're looking for a place to watch the game, great place to do so. A great place for a date night if you want football in the background, too, but it still feels like a date night. Cask & Company is fantastic for that. And thanks to Firekeepers Casino and the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. Download it. Bet the games. I don't hate the Michigan State line this week at plus 16 for people. There'll be some good prop bets there. Lions, whatever you like. Thanks to Harry Gagnon and Matt Charboneau. We'll be back Sunday night with Hot Takes. Good show, man.
Oh, yeah. Hey, man. Yeah, man.
Couch in the Room.